Your home for Kings talk and so much more.
Live and local.
Allen Stiles on Sacktown Sports.
This thing on? Is this thing on? Well, the Kings are on fire as they beat the Utah Jazz, who I know aren't very good, but you also know that I'm big on the little things, right? I'm big on making sure that you enjoy yourself, enjoy your time, enjoy everything that comes in a season. So we're going to enjoy this one. And honestly, it wasn't the most impressive game in the world. We'll get into a really weird ending. Yes, am I biased because I had some unders, some second half unders that got cooked because Doug Christie decided to play his starters throughout the whole game. It was kind of a bizarre ending. Why keep your starters in? I'm not sure. I mean, they don't play till Saturday, so maybe that's part of it. Did they improve at all just based on that random 2 minutes? Who knows? But Doug Christie, I believe in him and the pulse that he has on this team. So you go in, you take care of business. You were afraid of maybe Jordan Clarkson remembering how to shoot. It was very similar to Space Jam. He just forgot how to shoot a basketball. So, hey, go in, get the W, take care of business. They covered. All right, that's a big thing. You didn't mess around at all, and now the Texas showdown begins. So you are 1-0 on this 4-game road trip. Now it's time to eat with the big boys. And in another Texas showdown, the San Antonio Spurs, they face the Houston Rockets. Now the Rockets have won 2 straight. One against the Milwaukee Bucks, who are pretty darn good, and one against the Spurs, who are pretty darn bad. So what to make of the Rockets, who you can get the season sweep if you win that game on Saturday. We will get to all that. We have the Kings Jazz notes, of course. We have Christie's cuts. We have DeMar DeRozan's three-point shooting, of course, pocket watching, ESPN's power rankings. There's media beef out there between NFL personalities. Imagine rolling up to someone at Starbucks. Hey, yo, let me get a caramel macchiato, and I heard you were talking trash about me. That happened. We'll tell you who that happened and who it was between. Of course, we have another Thunder Showdown giveaway. That's at 1 o'clock. I've been texting our guy, former coworker Nate, to see if he wants to slide through with me. So will we be there? Not sure. But will you be there? You can be there if you win those tickets. That's at 1 o'clock. Brock and Debo, we have a little bit of Niners talk towards the end of the show, and the sports gambling story that continues to grow, why it's an issue. But the main thing I want to get to is this, okay? And I don't say this lightly. 916-339-1140. We're feeling good, and we're going to keep the phone lines open all day to see how good you're feeling. Or maybe you're saying, Allen, you're doing the thing you said you wouldn't do. You're too excited about the Kings beating bad teams. You're looking like Jordan Clarkson. Where's Allen? Where's the normal Allen Stiles? And I'll tell you what, man, Sean Cunningham's interview with us yesterday, his hit that he did, just great stuff. It led me to an epiphany. And on top of that, De'Aaron Fox has been really bad on the Spurs. But it's not about that. This is about what the Kings can do. So my epiphany, and we will break it down more at 11 o'clock. I'm really excited for the 11 o'clock hour. And I don't feel like this specifically because the Kings beat the G League Jazz. It actually was, like I said, a fairly unimpressive game. But there is a world where the Kings could actually win the Fox trade. Okay? Now, 2 things, as I mentioned, how the Kings could win the perception and win the Fox trade. The first part of this is that it's going to take patience. And that is something that this Kings regime, don't want to get in trouble, that is something that this Kings regime has not had. Patience. Okay? The second thing, and it kind of rolls into that patience, is that in order for the Kings to possibly win the De'Aaron Fox trade, as far as on the court and as far as the perception, it's going to take patience. Also, it's going to take possibly a move that a lot of people don't like. I've been working through, it's the first time I fired up. Now, look, when I talk about the patience part of this, that's because I'm not really counting this season. This team could get hot and make some moves. We get all that. But I'm not really talking about this season. That's why I'm talking so much about patience. Because as we had a conversation with Chris Biederman, it's basically two takes that you can have. The Chris Biederman take from last week where it's, if you know, and what he's hearing. This is legit. Both are legit. You can be hearing two different things. What he's hearing, if this team doesn't figure it out, they miss the playoffs, the Kings, you say, okay, this little interim thing is scrapped from Doug Christie to Zach LaVine to DeMar DeRozan. We're blowing it up, and we're not going to push this thing any longer. We're going to blow it up. To the other side, where it could be what Sean Cunningham said yesterday, and it's, look, man, they got about 6 dudes on contract. And that's not just to say 6 dudes that are core guys that are getting legitimate time. And that's not to say that they're just going to run it back with those dudes, but that's to say that those contracts are fairly high-value contracts. So more tweaking, more retooling could be done. And if it is done, how does that look next season? So there are basically 2 approaches if whether this team gets to the first round or not. I don't think this team is winning the whole thing. So we know if they get to the second round, they're for sure running it back. But in the more likely scenario that they either miss the playoffs or lose in the first round, how should they react? Really, and another kind of variant of this would be if they get to the first round and lose. Would you look at this and say, I think what would happen is they would learn from the perceived mistakes from last season, Beam Team season, and it would be, hey, we know what happens after we made the playoffs and we stayed stagnant. So that gives me a reason to believe even if they made the playoffs and didn't get very far, specifically not out of the first round, that wouldn't count the same, maybe not as aggressive as not making the playoffs, but they would still look at it as we cannot run this back. So the only scenario I see the Kings not making any moves is if you go on a fairly deep run in the playoffs, which I don't see happening. So when you look at the retooling aspect, if you decide, hey, we have some pieces here, man, and we moved on from our franchise guy, or that's how a lot of people saw it. So instead of jumping from, the friend that you have that jumps from one job to the next, and then they're always upset that they're not making their way. It could be different jobs as a whole. It could be different careers. One week they want to be a chef. The next week they want to, be Wolf of Wall Street and kill the stock market.
Wow,
right?
That is quite the difference.
They're
in
out
lifestyles.
there. They're out there. Or it could be the person that every week they're at another sales job because they're trying to find the place with the largest base salary. They don't care about commission, right? And they keep jumping around. You say, hey, maybe if you stay somewhere, you'll be valued, you'll get a higher commission, and your base salary will go up. So the Kings, when you look at this approach, regardless of what happens at the end of this season, do they want to be the friend and kind of what they've been so far where they're jumping around, right? And the Kings have kind of suffered from when it is time to move, they haven't moved, a la the Beam Team season. Hey, maybe you should make a tweak here. No, we're good now. So they've kind of been doing the exact opposite. It reminds me of when I get in line. I'm not going to shout out the grocery stores because these grocery stores are ridiculous. I have the worst luck when it comes, and I know a lot of people feel like this, when it comes to hopping in lines. Whatever line I'm in, if you see me in a line, I don't care if it's at a sporting event, I don't care if it's at a grocery store, go to the other line. Whatever line I'm in, there was a time, it was Christmas or our anniversary or something. So I go to the grocery store and I go in one line. I did have, some beverages, so you can't do self-checkout. I'm in that line. That line is dragging. They open up another line. I hop into the other line. In that line, the the cashier went out. So the technology had just shut down. So then I hop back into the other line. As soon as I hop back into the other line, the cashier started working again in that other line. People went back. I said, you know what? I'm just gonna lick my wounds and I'm gonna stay here. So the Kings have kind of suffered from when they should make a move, they haven't made a move. When they have made a move, they shouldn't have made a move. And that's what they've suffered from. So they just need to kind of settle in now, take a look at the landscape, see how this season ends up, and practice something that they have not practiced in a very long time, which is patience. So we discuss my epiphany. That's at 11 o'clock. Coming up on the other side, we get into some of the notes from Kings Jazz. A very bizarre game, I would say. The Kings took care of business, so we enjoy that. But the takeaways, there wasn't anything similar to the Zach LaVine takeaway. The other thing that we will get into is, this is what a Domantas Sabonis slump looks like. How does he get out of it, and why is he there? 4 hours with you on a Throwback Thursday, taking you up to 2 p.m. out south, Sacktown Sports.
This Saturday, Kings and Rockets. Game night with Scott Marsh and the high flyer Henry Turner starts at 3:30. Tip-off at 5.
The Kings play here on Sacktown Sports.
Sacktown Sports, 1140.
Sacramento's premier country music festival, Country in the Park, is coming back May 16th and 17th at Cal Expo with Bailey Zimmerman, Billy Currington, Cole Wetzel, Nate Smith, and more. You'll enjoy food trucks, rock walls, and a mechanical bull, line dancing, and more. Single-day GA tickets start at $52 at CITPFest.com. Country in the Park, May 16th and 17th with Save Mart and McKee Brothers Plumbing and Rooter Incorporated. Find out more at CITPFest.com.
There's a reason why more and more people are coming from all over to Sacramento Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Folsom, Elk Grove, Woodland, Roseville. And it's not just because they're centrally located next to Hagan Oaks Golf Course. It's because they make the car buying experience different than anywhere else. Yeah, of course they can get you a great price. That's the easy part. Where their general manager, Chuck Dean, and his team really make a difference is they don't believe you should have to sacrifice great customer service to get a great deal. Stomp on in today and see for yourself. That's Sacramento Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. It's the place where a handshake still means something.
Allen Stiles. Watch the show on youtube.com/Sacktown Sports 1140.
Or listen on the Sacktown Sports app.
Kings, they get it done. And they get it done in a way that was it was very similar to last season, right? That was a little glimpse of last season. Just kind of boring, kind of weird, no huge takeaways other than the Jazz stink. Jordan Clarkson was very bad. He was so bad that he had to tweet about it, by the way. Jordan Clarkson tweeted this last night. Yes, I suck tonight. Have a drink for it. Embrace the bad days. Move on. Love always. Yeah.
Imagine playing so bad that you have to tweet about it.
It was atrocious. Dev the Carter, 22, that is not Devin Carter, it is a Kings fan, says, you might miss pouring your drink with a crying emoji. Nicely done, Dev the Carter, 22. And yeah, it was really bad, and I don't think the Jazz had a shot, but if they wanted to have a shot, it wasn't going to be because of Kenyon Martin Jr. and Sensabaugh, who I can't even remember his first name.
Funny enough,
now.
Jordan Clarkson didn't have a shot either.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And, look.
Bryce Sensabaugh.
Thank you very much. And look, I'll give a little bit of credit to the Kings, right? I see somebody on the text line, defense is not improved. Hornets and Jazz both missed so many wide open shots. Look, we're going to see. I'm not really going to entertain that right now because it's going to all reveal itself in the month of March. So I am deciding to enjoy this, to understand that these teams do stink, but also understand that you got to get wins. I'd rather be doing this show and have people say, well, these teams aren't good, rather than, man, the Kings just lost to possibly the worst roster in the NBA. So
we do not care.
I'd rather have this conversation that we're having right now. And as we get to the box score, how the Kings took care of business. Keegan Murray, great game. He loves playing in Utah. That's one thing that we can definitely guarantee the next time there's a prop talk. I have to confirm whether it's in Utah or just against Utah for Keegan Murray. I believe it's in Utah, how good he plays and likes to play.
The 12 3-pointer game was against Utah, but at Golden One Center.
There you go. So he just is all about playing the Utah Jazz as we get through the box score. Domantas Sabonis, like I said, we're going to spend some time on Domantas Sabonis. He was a +3 in 34 minutes, 12 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists. I told you guys that under was the most free cash in history. So I hope you followed us there. 0 for 4 from 3-point land. I'm kind of done. I don't think I need to see Domantas Sabonis. If you're going to take 4 3-pointers, fine. It's against the Jazz, but it's kind of left him. It has left him, and we don't know when he is going to get it back. DeMar DeRozan, 34 minutes, 8 for 14. That's a very much, like I told, this is what we discussed. Just unders for the starters in a game. Like for, I would say, the core players, right? The high volume guys, Sabonis, DeMar, Malik Monk, Zach LaVine. I didn't like any of their overs. I think Zach LaVine might have hit because I think he was probably at 21.5. So
it was, how many did he finish with?
22. So he snuck through.
That was my prop talk yesterday.
Yeah.
23.
So he was under 2.
23.5.
Yeah. So a game like this, this is exactly what you would expect out of a game like this. DeMar DeRozan, like I said, 19 points. Keegan Murray, 33 minutes. He was the man of the hour. He led all scores with 26 points. He was a +6 on the night, 5 of 10 from 3-point range. He was feeling it. He also had 6 rebounds. We know he likes to rebound. 2 blocks and 2 assists. So great game for Keegan Murray. Zach LaVine, he had that heater in the second quarter, 22 points, +10, 4 for 8 from 3-point range. Look, there was a moment where you did think the Kings aren't going to, they're not going to, this isn't going to happen, right? As they were tied and even lost the lead at one point early in the second half, but they took care of business. Malik Monk, 35 minutes, 3 turnovers, 13 points. He had 6 assists and 9 rebounds. Malik will have random crazy rebounding games, and last night was one of them. He got 9 rebounds. So not a bad game for Malik Monk. I'm just really worried about him shooting the basketball. He is short on a lot of his shots. He's 1 for 5 from 3-point range again. He's the guy. It's funny because we talk about this kind of whack-a-mole situation that the Kings are in, and now it turns into, okay, Zach LaVine is rolling a bit, and as Zach LaVine gets rolling, Malik Monk kind of feeling like, okay, where do I fit? And look, every night, every starter isn't going to have 20 points, but now it feels like Malik Monk is sacrificing as DeMar DeRozan is still in that 20-point range. Zach LaVine has crept up back to where his average was, or close to his average on the Bulls, and now Malik Monk, who was at about 19 points before Zach LaVine came in, 17, 19 points. Now Malik Monk has kind of dropped. So this is just what it's going to be, and this is what happens when you add in a number 1 option after the trade deadline.
You are so right. I just looked up Malik Monk's rebounding numbers this year. It's like 9 last night, 8 on February 3rd against Minnesota, 9 against the Spurs, 7 against the Mavericks on December 30th. It's like once or twice a month, there's just a random 8 or 9 rebound game for Malik Monk, which he has a couple 7s and a bunch of 6s this year. But yeah, just like random 8 or 9 rebound games out of nowhere.
So look, he's still getting it done. He had the highest plus-minus out of the starters, if you're into that sort of thing. He was a +13. Zach LaVine was a +10. I mentioned Domantas Sabonis was a +3, and Keegan Murray was a +6. DeMar DeRozan was a +1. Obviously, somebody is going to say, it's his defense. Jake LaRavia, man, I thought last night was the night Jake LaRavia was, and that 3 in the corner goes in and out. All he needs is, I know he's hit 1, but he just needs to see another one go down. I keep telling y'all, Okay, he was still a plus 11, and he had 1 turnover, 4 fouls, 0 points. He was 0 for 3 from the field.
But tell me again how Jake LaRavia would get the same production as Keegan Murray. If
Okay, all right.
Jake LaRavia as a Sacramento King has gotten to a point where if you type his stats in on StatMuse, they list rebounds first because the rebounds are higher than the points.
All right, maybe I was a little high on Jake LaRavia.
He's also still shooting 0% from the free throw line as a King.
Was that yesterday when I said that, or was that 2 days ago?
I think 2 days ago.
Yeah.
And Brennan texted in calling you out, and I wanted to throw my chair through the glass.
Okay, and now Keegan Murray has 26. Look, I'm just challenging people.
Oh, what's up, Sacramento?
We know these guys listen to the show. I go out, I say, is Jake LaRavia going to do what Keegan Murray does in the same minutes? What happens next game? Keegan goes off for 26. So you know what? You're welcome. Jonas Valanciunas is the only argument for player of the game besides Keegan Murray. Jonas Valanciunas had a heck of a game, and they basically created, or they basically combined for Domantas Sabonis's normal numbers, a little higher as far as the scoring is concerned, but he picked up the slack for Domantas Sabonis, who, look, we talked about Walker Kessler and how Danny Ainge says, you're going to give me some first rounders for it. Walker Kessler is a stud. He's a young stud in this game, and he kind of shut down Domantas Sabonis. Jonas Valanciunas in 14 minutes had 15 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists, and he was a plus 14. He was 6 of 7 from the field, and he hit a crazy three-pointer. And, you know, like I said, he really just emulated what we normally see from Domantas Sabonis. Markelle Fultz only played 4 minutes, plus 5, no points, no shots either. Did have a rebound, though. And Keon Ellis, 33 minutes. I told him not to play, but he played anyway, and he played very well. He was a plus 22. He was the highest plus-minus on the whole roster last night.
I really just be chilling for real.
With 11 points. He was 3 of 4 from three-point range, and he had 2 assists and 1 rebound. And there is a name that I didn't say because he didn't play, and we're going to discuss who that name was on the other side. But first, before we go to a break, let's hear from Sam, who wants to get us started with some calls. What's up, Sam? What you got for us?
Hey, well, I think I'm going to go out on a limb and say I'm about the only Kings fan, and I've been a season ticket holder since need
Okay.
that probably does not want to blow up the team.
Ah.
I think we got a great team. I think we need to improve the coaching slightly, but from top to bottom, we've got a great team. Now, if you blow up, you want to blow it up. Let's go on the other side. You want to blow it up? I'm going to say we have 3 players on the Kings that are in the top 125 players in the world. And we may have another one that's probably within the top 150. Mm-hmm. And who are we going to blow up? Who do you want to throw off the team? You want to throw all those 3 guys off and get 10 draft choices?
Yeah. No, thanks for the call, Sam. And we're going to, like I said, we are 30 minutes away from Allen's epiphany. And Allen's epiphany is pretty similar to what Sam is saying. I joked on social media over the weekend, and I said, off the top of my head, I put a bunch of random food together, and Dave was mad because he said that food comparisons, that's his bit, so I can't do it. Well, sorry, Dave, I did it. And I said the Kings are like if you put apple pie or cheesecake on a plate with pizza, orange chicken, and ribeye, right? Some good things that I all enjoy, but not together unless you're at a Vegas buffet. So it's just a matter of how do you make this plate make sense? So to Sam's point, maybe they can make this plate make sense. I don't think that it's going to happen before the season ends because they are who they are, but not spending too much time on the offseason, how they can tweak some things and make this to be a more cohesive dish during the summer. So I'm kind of with Sam, and especially after you play a ragtag team like the Jazz, it was a bad day, I would say. Not a horrible day because March could happen and the blow-up crew could have a lot to say, but it was kind of a bad night for the blow-it-up fan base. So we'll break down all of that on the other side. We discuss Keegan Murray and how well he played. And yeah, I'll wear it that Keegan Murray and Jake LaRavia, that offensive comparison from me a couple days ago, it was pretty wild. And I promise not to do it again, but let's be honest, I probably will. Allen Stiles, Sacramento Sports.
What's up, Vancouver?
This Saturday, Kings and Rockets. Game night with Scott Marsh and the high flyer Henry Turner starts at 3:30. Tip-off at 5.
The Kings play here on Sacktown Sports.
Sacktown Sports, 1140.
Hurry in and save big during Honda's President's Day sales event at Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop.
Hurry in and save on our best selection of new Hondas. Each is priced to sell now. Folsom Lake Honda is your one-stop Honda shop for great pricing on a giant selection of new CRVs, HRVs, Civics, and Accords with low finance and lease options. Plus, get an instant cash offer for your trade. Get to Folsom Lake Honda or go to FolsomLakeHonda.com.
Folsom Lake Honda, yeah, your one-stop Honda shop.
Fargo, your virtual assistant from Wells Fargo, makes banking faster and easier. Like this.
Fargo, what did I spend on groceries last month?
And this.
Fargo, turn off my debit card.
And this.
Fargo, what's my checking account routing number?
And that's just the beginning. Do you, Fargo? You can in the Wells Fargo mobile app. Learn more at wellsfargo.com/getfargo.
Fargo is only available on the smartphone versions of the Wells Fargo mobile app. Wells Fargo Bank N.A., member FDIC.
When you bundle renters and auto with Progressive, you can save while protecting your most valuable possessions, like your priceless vinyl collection. Sure, you sleep on a futon because the money most people would have spent on a bed you spent on more records. But forget the fact that you can stream just about any song ever created for a few dollars a month. No, you need to listen to music in the most difficult way possible. So go ahead and get Progressive so you can save while protecting the things that matter to you. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
Is that a new Samsung Galaxy A15 5G?
Yeah, I got it for free when I joined Cricket Nation.
Sounds pretty great.
At Cricket, anyone can get a new phone when they switch.
Whoa.
With a high-quality camera, meaning more flattering selfies for all, and super fast 5G, so you can post them for all to see. Your friends, your family, your ex. Free phone! Free phone!
Okay, I'll switch.
Welcome to Cricket Nation.
Cricket 5G is not available everywhere. Must bring your number to Cricket on a $60 a month voice plan. First month service charge and tax to its sale. These terms and other restrictions apply. See cricketwireless.com for details.
Tired of hearing scary radio ads about the IRS? Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000 or $500,000, we have a solution. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS with zero risk to you. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with a BBB. End your tax nightmare today by visiting TRA.com or call 800-275-1728. That's 800-275-1728.
T-Mobile 5G home internet keeps getting better. Get our fastest connection loaded with benefits. Get T-Mobile's best home internet starting at $55 a month with auto pay and any voice line. Plus, Price Lock. We won't raise your rate on internet. Check availability at T-Mobile.com/home internet. Exclusions like taxes and fees apply. Guarantees regular monthly rate plan price of fixed wireless 5G internet data with qualifying service. After $15 bill credit with postpaid voice line plus $5 a month without auto pay with debit or bank account. Regulatory fees included for qualifying accounts. $35 connection charge applies. Speeds vary due to factors affecting cellular networks.
DeRozan tracks it down, almost stumbled, skips a pass cross court to Ellis, eludes the defender, attacks the baseline, can't get a shot off. Good defense from Collier. Back out now to Keegan Murray, drives inside, challenged by Kessler, high glass and scores. Great job that time against the 7-foot 1-inch defender by Keegan Murray.
Allen Stiles. Watch the show on youtube.com/Sacktown Sports 1140.
Or listen on the Sacktown Sports app.
A little Rod Wave to bring in our Keegan Murray talk on a Throwback Thursday.
Not just Rod Wave, Keegan's favorite song.
That's right.
Which he told us on the air. This is his favorite song.
That's right. Favorite artist, favorite song for Keegan Murray. Real quick, I'm sorry, I have to do this. I told myself I'm going to stay on track today. I know everybody wants to talk, and this is not going to take long. I just have to say this. So those of you who may or may not know, and shout out Front Office Sports. Front Office Sports, we've been meaning to have their writers on. I have had some good conversations with their founder, who's out of Sacramento, and Front Office Sports does some great work. It's really you talk about so much. You talk about so much content out there right now, but who is reporting on the content, right? And who is reporting on, oh, this is happening or that is happening within the industry. And Front Office Sports, they've really kind of carved out a lane where everyone else is just trying to give takes and things like that. And they get a lot of good information. And I got to say this because I do think it is at the very least interesting. So those of you that have been familiar with the FS1 Joy Taylor situation, and maybe some of you that watch the shows, I know sometimes we'll have our TVs on. Joy Taylor, some questions have popped up. Now, when everything went down, I don't know, was this the end of last year? I think it was the end of last year. They just kept shelling her out there. She was out there doing her show. So some questions, this is from Front Office Sports. Here's the quote. Questions are rising about Joy Taylor's status at Fox Sports' FS1 network after she missed 3 straight days of hosting Speak this week. Taylor missed the shows because she was, quote, sidelined by the network, sources told Front Office Sports. The apparent infraction that led to be off the program for at least 3 days was not immediately known. A spokesperson for Fox Sports declined to comment, and a spokesperson for Taylor did not immediately respond to a request for comment. So if you know that, I'm going a little TMZ here, but if you know that story, this is quite interesting because, yeah, initially they just kept it pushing, and she was out there and she was still posting on Instagram and things like that. And I don't know if something else came up, but that just got posted not too long ago, and I just thought it was interesting. Speaking of, I am not even going to try to do a transition there because I'll get in trouble. Speaking of baskets, Keegan Murray and his ability to put the biscuit in the basket was on full display last night as he goes for a season-high 26 points. And Kyle, got to give Kyle kudos. He's been all over this. Keegan Murray, he's been – look, the 41%, that was insane his rookie year, right? And maybe we have let that version of Keegan cloud what also is a really good player and a really good young player. And Keegan Murray has essentially been that rookie player besides 1 or 2% here from three-point line the second half of the season with better defense. And we got to give him kudos there. He's been that leap that we've been looking for with Keegan Murray has made some appearances. Now, do they happen as often as we'd like? No, but as we mentioned yesterday or a couple days ago with my crazy Jake LaRavia comparison, is it because of a lack of being featured in the offense? So Keegan Murray, he ties his season high for field goals made with 9. He ties his season high for three-pointers made with 5. He took the second most shots from the field on the team, more than DeMar DeRozan, Malik Monk, and Sabonis. He scored 13 in a half or more in a half for the first time in 9 games. Last time was early February last year. First time scoring 13 or more points in both halves of a game in 101 games. The last time was over a year ago, January 9th, versus the Pistons, when the Pistons were not the Pistons. By the way, the Pistons are cooking right now. So Keegan has really been rolling. And look, a lot of people joke about Keegan and not having the most outgoing personality. But, Keegan can be really insightful. And my mom has always told me that still waters run deep, which has always been funny because I never shut up. And I've always thought, Mom, are you trying to tell me something? But Keegan Murray, when he talks, you listen. And this is what Keegan Murray had to say about his offensive role and team adjustments here.
Keegan, I was going to ask you about that. We got so many scorers on this team, man. How do you know when your spot is, when your opportunities are coming out there?
Yeah, it's a different role for sure since the last couple of years. So, I'm still trying to figure it out. It's a work in progress. Like, we've had a lot of new guys since the trade deadline and things like that. So I'm just trying to find my way. And today it was just me coming up, pin down, things like that, just to get me more involved and scoring efficiently.
And I know turnovers have been an issue as of late. There's still more tonight, but it felt like you guys, the last couple of games, have found some ways to just fight through it. What's that been? Are you guys talking it through, or are you guys just simplifying the game for yourself? What's going on?
One thing we can change for sure is our live ball turnovers. The ones in fast break are the ones that really hurt us. And that I feel like that happened in the first quarter, first half. So just limiting those, especially to start the game, is big for us. So it's been a point of emphasis. And again, we just got to keep working on it. So Malik's been a point guard for three weeks now. So again, it's just a work in progress.
There you go. And that's what it is. And I know I've said it time and time again, but we knew this thing was going to take time. And when we try to evaluate the Kings on who they are right now, that's always the thing. They don't really have time. That's the issue, right? This thing is supposed to take time. Realistically, it's going to take time. They just don't have a ton of time to work with, which goes to what we're going to talk about at 11 o'clock. If they're willing to be patient with this thing, maybe they'll get what they want. I don't know that they'll get a championship, but maybe they'll get what they want and to be solidly in a position between 4 and 6 of a playoff spot and not just scratching and clawing for the plan. But it's going to take patience. You just hop from here to here to here. And Keegan Murray specifically, with that patience, his role might be completely different next season. But Keegan has been the consummate professional. He's spoken out at times, even going back to last season when it was only his second year in the league, when this team has not performed. And there's been so much to be said about Malik Monk and De'Aaron Fox's relationship as De'Aaron, goes off to San Antonio. This has been a pretty tumultuous season for Keegan himself. He was pretty close with De'Aaron. We all know that. And to lose De'Aaron, to lose the first coach that you've had in your NBA career with Mike Brown, who you've seen a lot of success with in your rookie season. I mean, the vibes of that rookie season still probably unmatched for Keegan. To see your role change time and time again. Last season, it was he needs to be more aggressive. Now this season, he drops down to the 4th, maybe 5th option sometimes in the lineup. So look, it's tough because we see some of these guys and, and some people on the SAC chat and the text line have had some really good calls because, you can look at I don't know that I believe that Keegan has the same bag as Trey Murphy or some of these other young players, but the fact that they just get to go out there and just chuck the basketball all day long with no repercussions or no expectations, Keegan's never had that. So you do have to keep that in mind, which is weird because the Kings are a 9-10 seed. It's not as if it's, he's on a 5 seed and there's just, a 4 or higher and there's just no space for him. But this team doesn't make any sense, right? And Keegan it's not, let's just go out there and get Keegan right and let him shoot the basketball. In a way, it's kind of been what Jonathan Kuminga has suffered from. That's why I find myself comparing them so much, not from how they play basketball, but just from the situations that they've been in where we have a lot of other options and we're not really sure where you fit, but we're going to wake up one day as Jonathan Kuminga woke up this season where you're probably our number 2 scoring option before they got Jimmy Butler. So, and I'm reminding myself, I'm not, talking to the fans or talking to the listeners in any type of way. I'm also reminding myself that this dude has been through a lot in his short career. And I don't know that he'll be a superstar at any point in time, but I'm also not willing to say, hey, we need to move off of this guy. Now, when it comes to the time and Sean Cunningham, I'm going to plug this thing 8,000 times. That's how good it was. Now, when Sean Cunningham spoke to the question marks this offseason, one of them was, how much do you pay Keegan? Now, what the Kings value Keegan at and what Keegan and his camp value himself at, that's going to be interesting. But I don't necessarily see a world where Keegan is on another team, whether it be, them coming to a deal, them coming to a deal, and then subsequently moving him like a Jordan Poole or losing him in free agency. I don't see that happening. I'm not really sure what Keegan is going to be, but it is something to keep in mind when you sit there and you look at some of these other dudes, and look, I sat here and did the top 25 under 25 list. Now let's go back and do the top 25 under 25 list and how many guys on their teams are getting more shots and more opportunities than Keegan Murray. And he's not night in, night out. Some of that is Keegan. I think that was more last season where you'd hear Mike Brown say he needs to take more initiative. But this season, it's crowded. It's crowded right now.
I mean, you heard it in the quote where he's talking about he's been asked differently. And we're going to hear Doug talk about Keegan a lot in the Christie's cuts in the next segment. But it's kind of articulating the same point, is that they're admitting they're asking him to do more on defense. And that is how Keegan Murray is making the quote-unquote year 3 leap that some people are expecting. It might not be on the offensive end of the floor, but I think so many people are stuck on what Keegan was when he was missing all the open threes earlier in the season. Whereas when you look at under Doug Christie, Keegan Murray's been a really good scorer. he's not taking as many shots because he's often the fourth or fifth option every time he's on the floor. But then you look at it tonight where, yes, he's being guarded by Bryce Sensabaugh and Johnny Juzang and Kenyon Martin's son, who are not NBA quality defenders. But he took the second most shots on the team. You saw aggressive Keegan, and I think that's important to remind people. It's in the bag. It's there. They're just not asking him to do it. And because he's not a high volume shooter or a high volume scorer, you're not seeing Keegan Murray like he was his rookie year taking 6 threes a game, but he's still shooting basically 45 and 35, which is not 50, 40, 90, but 45, 35 means you're an above average offensive player.
We get to your calls, and we have Chrissy's Cuts when we return. Allen Stiles, Sacktown Sports.
This Saturday, Kings and Rockets. Game night with Scott Marsh and the high flyer Henry Turner starts at 3:30. Tip off at 5.
The Kings play here on Sacktown Sports.
Sacktown Sports, 1140.
Check engine light on? Take the guesswork out of your check engine light with O'Reilly Veriscan. It's free. Ask for O'Reilly Veriscan today.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Hey, it's Carmichael Dave for my good friends at American Energy. It's cold, and American Energy wants you to stay warm and make sure your system's operating safely. Here's the deal. A $49 tune-up inspection, which is regularly $119. That's a full safety and duct inspection. But guess what? If your system's over 10 years old, the tune-up is on them. That's right. It's free. Give them a call right now. $50 off your first recommended repair. And if you need a new furnace, half off the price of a new unit. Oh, by the way, breaking news. They're hiring right now. Here's the deal. They'll train you, full benefits, generous incentive-based pay. Just call today for more details at 916-520-9990. That's 916-520-9990. Not only great deals from American Energy, but possibly a new career for you. Check them out at theaeway.com for an instant quote and tell them Carmichael Dave sent you.
Call 916-520-9990 now.
When you're in the thick of a project, Harbor Freight is the place that always comes in handy. Whether you're picking up something for your pickup truck or a power tool for your project, at Harbor Freight, your dollar always goes further. And these days, when everything seems to cost more, you can take pride in knowing that you get hard-working tools at hard-working prices. Whatever you do, do it for less at Harbor Freight.
I learned patience from my adoptive dad. All he had to say was,
"Hey, you got this. Just breathe." Hey, we're pretty good.
Yeah.
Might have to start a band.
I got it.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more. This message is brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
At Stockton Honda, we know how to honor a great deal. Like right now, during our President's Day sales event, you can find star-spangled savings on some of our best models. Why not stop in today and see for yourself? Save thousands with low APR financing and great lease rates on over 500 new Hondas at Stockton Honda.
Anytime, anywhere, it's all here. StocktonHonda.com.
Don't miss your chance to win tickets to the Sacramento Boat Show and Off-Road Expo March 6th through the 9th at Cal Expo, the largest outdoor recreation show in the market. Just go to SacktownSports.com now for your chance to win.
Allen Stiles
You can join the show by texting 916-339-1140.
on Sacktown Sports.
We're going to get to your phone calls. There is a lot happening right now, and I'm trying to keep up with all of it. First things first, this is 6 minutes ago. Breaking news, but not Kings, so I don't think we need the sounder. Spurs, this is from Chris Haynes. Chris Haynes on a heater, man. Talk about ending out. Well, it's not Q1 yet. I think that's the end of March, but talk about kicking off 2025 right. Chris Haynes has been super plugged in. So shout out Chris Haynes, and he does great work. And like I said, we keep working. He's super busy, but, you know, he does want to come on the show. We're going to get him. Before 2025 ends, Chris Haynes will be on the show. I
This
am
is Chris
manifesting
Haynes,
it.
and you've been briefed.
Thank you, Chris Haynes. Now, this one didn't require a video. It just a picture and a post.
This is Chris Haynes, and you've been briefed.
Thank you, Chris Haynes. Again, breaking. Spurs head coach Greg Popovich addressed the team today for the first time since suffering a stroke to update them on his recovery and to inform that he's not returning this season. So that's huge. Obviously, we wish Pop the best and hope that his recovery continues to move in the right direction. There's no way I can talk about this and not at least entertain my tinfoil hatness, as Mitch Johnson has not gotten rave reviews. Again, I'm stuck in Spurs Twitter and Rockets Twitter because of, funny enough, I'm not really in, the Bulls are so bad, I'm not really in Bulls Twitter because I don't know how much anyone cares about it.
Bulls Twitter has to be such a depressing place.
It just doesn't really exist. But
they had to have given up like 6 years ago.
Yeah, and Josh Giddey's actually been playing extremely well, but Mitch Johnson has not had rave reviews, and I gotta say, is there a world, you know where I'm going, where if Mike Brown and Greg Popovich, if Greg Popovich doesn't return, what the appetite would be for the Spurs and Mike Brown? Is there a world? I mean, that would be the ultimate get back for Mike Brown. You get to coach your boy De'Aaron and Wemby.
Turn the on.
I'm not going to spend time on it. I don't want people to get mad at me because that actually might tick people off. Now, this is where we find out how coaches are viewed in the league. Where does Mike Brown reappear next? Because this is it's kind of obvious of an opportunity, maybe not head coach, but at least assistant coach, but somebody in Mike Brown's spot at this stage in his career. You're taking the assistant coach. You're not still trying to build your resume to get back to head coaching. I guess you're just taking it to see.
I think Mike Brown's in that position where he will, if he wants another head coaching job, I think he'll be one of the top candidates for the jobs that are opening, but it's going to be for one of those rebuilding jobs. Like,
you don't think the Spurs would say, hey, Mike Brown, and that's what I'm asking as far as how Mike Brown is viewed. Would the Spurs say, I mean, look what he did in Sacramento. We got Wemby, we got young assets, and we got his boy De'Aaron Fox. Who's to say that Mike Brown, he's already done the assistant coach thing on some of the best teams in the history of basketball. Mm-hmm. If he's not going to get the call now, I don't even know if I'm Mike Brown. Why would I even take a rebuilding job?
Well,
I mean, he's not a spring chicken.
I know how weird the Mike Brown firing was, obviously, and so maybe we're the exception and not the rule. But by rule, how many coaches can you think of that get fired up? Like, even for whatever
didn't Budenholzer get fired up? He's coach of the Suns.
Yeah, but he had to wait a year to end up getting that job. Yeah. I'm saying, like, if he took a job right away, very few coaches ever get fired upwards. And honestly, I don't think Budenholzer got fired up because he got fired from the #1 seed in the Eastern Conference and
you
NBA
get a
champion.
Come on, Kyle. You get a chance. You get laid off. And by the way,
he's an NBA champion.
Amid Rock on the Sack Chat is saying if Mike pulled this off, he would still be getting $30 million from Vivek. Yeah, that'd be insane. But I don't want to get too in the weeds with Budenholzer. But you get a chance to coach Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal. That ain't a rebuilding. You're asking Mike Brown to go be Jordy Fernandez,
right? But he was a champion.
Mike Brown's done some things. I'm just saying, if I'm Mike Brown, I don't know if I might be an assistant. I'd rather go be an assistant and then take a whatever ready-made job that might pop up. If I'm Mike Brown, I'm not taking a Nets job at this point in my career, personally. And maybe he would. He's not Jordy Fernandez.
Yeah, because I think he's going to be a candidate, but he's not the candidate.
Sure.
He's not the guy everyone's like, we have to sign Mike Brown as our head coach.
And that was my initial question. How do we think Mike Brown is viewed throughout the league?
I mean, you make that same point, and Mike Brown obviously has the working relationship with Greg Popovich, But I could also say that about Monty Williams, who's looking for employment right now. So maybe Monty Williams is saying the same thing.
And but De'Aaron's connection to Mike Brown. Who knows? I know someone else is also adding in who cares, but breaking news, Greg Popovich addressed the team for the first time since suffering his stroke, and he updated them to inform them he will not be returning this season, which isn't super surprising. There's only about a month and a half left in the season, but what does this mean for next season? They still got the Wembanyama questions with his blood clot and things like that. So a lot of questions out there in San Antonio. I still think there's a possibility that De'Aaron gets the surgery. Kyle and I were kind of disagreeing before the show about why he would or why he wouldn't. But yeah, they're kind of not in limbo, but they're kind of on pause right now, trying to figure out what happens next. But let's get back to the team out here in Sacramento. And after a W, it is time. By the way, Doug Christie joining the Drive, guys, so don't miss that. Speaking of Doug Christie, here is Christie's Cuts.
We continue to work on us. There are a lot of different aspects of this game. Defensively, 1 30-point quarter, there are things that we can build upon. Has some good communication, some good switches, but it's still not as smooth as I would like, and I don't think as they would like either. So, but all in all, as I told them at halftime, we'll work on that and continue to work on it. The most important thing is that we win the game, and to their credit, they went out and did that. It's more about being simple, but not working your way into a game. And I think that we have guys in that lineup who have done a lot in this league, and dynamic scorers, and we have to keep the game simple, playing to our strengths, and one of those is playing through Domas, especially in the half court, and allowing us to get downhill. And then once we do that, whether it's a DHO, whether it's a split, whether it's a high split, low split, just read what's in front of you, as opposed to trying to dictate the game. That happens later in the game, later in the half, later in the quarter, later in the shot clock, where you allow your talent to dictate the game. Early on, I just want them to read more and definitely be present on the defensive end with intensity. He's asked to do more on the defensive end. And the balance of trying to play really hard defense and then go be a jump shooter is difficult, and you have to find that balance. Not to mention on DHOs and different things, he's learning and continuing to learn how to read. And tonight he was spectacular. They were going under. He stopped behind the screen. He didn't hedge out to where all of a sudden he finds himself in trouble. He stopped behind the screen, saw that the guy went under, took an escape dribble, and he's knocking it down. These are things that we're working on when we do have practice. So to watch them translate to the game for him, I think we'll continue to build a comfort zone for him that hopefully we see more nights like this. One thing that you'll find about Keegan is he doesn't really complain, and he's a quiet kid, so you don't know. I push him and prod, and he laughs a lot, but he probably hates it. But it's my way to deal with him and bring out what I feel is inside of him. And there's a lot of good stuff in him, man. Like, there's a quiet storm. My grandmother would say still waters run deep. And I think when I look at him, there's an intensity inside of him, especially on the defensive end, that I really like. And it looks like he's beginning to find his way. DeMar found him a couple times on the weak side, and he knocked him down. And there was just no hesitation in what he was doing tonight, even turning the corner. And that's the type of Keegan Murray we need.
Great stuff from Doug Christie, who again will be joining the Drive, guys. I can't wait to listen to that. Kyle, we got to confirm a time on that. You got a time on that?
Allegedly 2:30.
2:30. I might be rolling up. My pops is in town, so we're going to go to dinner, but I might be in the car, so I should be able to catch it. If not, I can catch it on the Sacktown Sports app and on YouTube, as can you if you're going to be busy with your dad in town or something else like that. On the other side, let's not get it twisted. The Kings still need to do some things, but I break down Allen's epiphany and how the Kings can cook this up. It's going to get wild. Then at 12 o'clock, to continue with the craziness, the roundtable will join us. And I believe we are fully loaded for the roundtable. That's all three of them. All three, Chris, Brendan, and Frankie.
We bring the boom.
Yeah, we're bringing something.
That's what we do.
That's coming up in an hour. But first, let's talk about Allen's Epiphany. 11 o'clock coming up. Allen Stiles, Sacktown Sports.
The only place you'll find Keegan Murray is Sacktown Sports.
Out to Keegan Murray, straight away for three, and Keegan taps down the triple.
Hey, Sacramento, it's Keegan Murray, and you're listening to the home of Sacramento Kings, Sacktown Sports.
Your local sports leader. This Saturday, Kings and Rockets. Game night with Scott Marsh and the high flyer Henry Turner starts at 3:30. Tip-off at 5.
The Kings play here on Sacktown Sports.
Sacktown Sports, 1140.
Hurry in and save big during Honda's President's Day sales event at Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop. Hurry in and save on our best selection of new Hondas. Each is priced to sell now. Folsom Lake Honda is your one-stop Honda shop for great pricing on a giant selection of new CRVs, HRVs, Civics, and Accords with low finance and lease options. Plus, get an instant cash offer for your trade. Get to Folsom Lake Honda or go to FolsomLakeHonda.com.
Folsom Lake Honda, yeah, your one-stop Honda shop.
The PGA Club fitters at the Hagen Oaks Player Performance Studio know that golf should be fun. They also know that players of all abilities will hit the ball farther and straighter, play better golf, shoot lower scores, and have more fun if they get fitted before they purchase golf clubs. Hagen Oaks delivers the same technology and major brands used to fit PGA and LPGA professionals. See how the game can be even more fun. Hagen Oaks Player Performance Studio fittings are available 7 days a week. Make yours today by calling 916-808-2531. That's 808-2531.
Tired of hearing scary radio ads about the IRS? Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000 or $500,000, we have a solution. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS with zero risk to you. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with a BBB. End your tax nightmare today by visiting TRA.com or call 800-583-6580. That's 800-583-6580.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare cancellation guide absolutely free.
Call 800-235-5588. That's 800-235-5588. 800-235-5588.
Sacktown Sports is bringing you the biggest live events in town. Whether you're rocking out or dancing the night away, check out the Sacktown Sports live events calendar. Crank it up with Steel Panther at Ace of Spades on March 15th. Then catch rising country star Alexandra Kay the next night, March 16th, also at Ace of Spades. On March 22nd, experience the magic of the Ronstadt Review featuring Jessenia at the Crest Theater. Then get ready for an epic night. Papa Roach and Rise Against take over Golden One Center March 29th, while comedy legends Jay Leno and Arsenio Hall bring the laughs to Hard Rock Live Sacramento on that same night. And for country fans, Lee Brice and Walker Hayes hit Ironstone Amphitheater on June 21st, and Parker McCullum takes the stage August 16th at the Ironstone Amphitheater up in Murphys, California. Don't miss out. Find more info and score your chance to win tickets at SacktownSports.com. The Sacktown Sports Live Events Calendar. Your ticket to the best seat in the house.
KHD KHD1 Sacramento, KYMX HD3 Sacramento. From the Power Business Technology Toshiba Studios.
This is Sacktown Sports, 1140. Allen Stiles
You can join the show by texting 916-339-1140.
on Sacktown Sports.
Well, Kate Trinata with my twin, Childish Gambino, also known as Donald Glover.
You do. That was the first one. I know you have like 4 lookalikes, but that was the first one I clicked. I'm like, damn.
It's more than 4. It's more than 4.
There's 4 like really good ones.
There are 4 real ones, and then there's just black people.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. There's 4 real ones, and then there's like 5 that are borderlining on that schism.
You know what? I meant to say this. There was somebody on the SAC chat who added another one this week, and I forgot to read it. They said, Allen gives me blank vibes, and I did not read it. I believe it was an athlete, but I'm not sure.
Well, maybe that person will text in again and claim their joke.
My buddy always said Darrell Revis. It's just, again, there's actual lookalikes, there's bearded black people, and then there's just black people. That's the tiers for me.
I hope he's talking about Darrell Revis in 2012.
Well, that's when it was. Yes, that's when it was.
I don't know if you've seen Darrell Revis nowadays.
I have not.
But he's enjoying retirement. Let's say that. Darrell Revis is enjoying retirement.
Good. 916-339-1140. We're going to get to TC, and then I will get to my epiphany. TC, what you got for us?
Hey, what's up, big dogs?
What's up, TC?
Hey, I'm not sounding doom and gloom, bro. We won last night, right? So I got 2 things.
Mm-hmm.
First, let's get to Keegan. Keegan, bro, I'm giving Keegan. That was a nice discussion we had before we got on. I give Keegan no more than 5 years, $20 million a year, bro. So 5 years, $100 million. That's it. I'm not Keegan. We're not going to 30, 35, 40. We're not even getting to those ranges. We're not even thinking about that, bro.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to the max we'll do is 20. So 5 years, 20, bro, is cool because you get that extra year. What's that? He'd be, 28, 29?
Right.
So, like, you got him locked in. You got your wing, 6'8" guy, 3-point shooter. Like, that's it, bro. We're not talking about 30 and 40 million. You know, with Dave and Jay Ross, when the boy Sam Mamie called him. So it's like this, bro. It's not peaches and cream with all fans don't feel that way about De'Aaron Fox. It's not going to be about, so you can't get mad about people that going to boo him or people that feel some type of way like he turned their back. You can't, everybody's not in this peachy and cream moment like, oh, De'Aaron, we love you. You never did wrong. Like, every fan's not that way, bro.
Thanks for the call, TC. You're cutting in and out, so we're just going to kind of move forward. Yeah, I actually didn't have, because I did the De'Aaron Fox thing yesterday. I didn't have a lot on De'Aaron. I did see Sam Amick was on, and they talked about it, and, you know, just as far as whether or not he should get booed, I don't want to kind of dive into it too much too early because we have time before the game actually happens. So we're going to really dig deep into that. So I don't want to do too much of that now, TC. As far as Keegan Murray, he's probably going to want more than 20 a year. We said, what was it, Kyle, between 20 and 25 or 20 and 23?
20 and 25 is what he's going to end up in.
Yeah, and I think that is fine, especially if you, going into what we're about to talk about, to Allen's epiphany, especially if you make some of these moves and you're expecting Keegan to have a bigger load offensively. Keegan is probably not signed. There's too many guys, and I think that there are guys that are not as good as Keegan making more than 20 mil, and that's why his camp is. And now look, you can say, hey, Keegan, we're going 20. They say, go bleep yourself for now. And after next season, see what happens to restricted free agency where that price tag could be higher or lower. Again, not to continue the Jonathan Kuminga conversations. I don't know what allegedly the Warriors tried to offer Jonathan Kuminga that he said no to. My guess is that now he will say yes because I don't think his value has really gone up.
Or I feel like Jonathan Kuminga's headed towards the testing restricted free agency waters this summer.
He's going to, but I'm saying I don't know that the Warriors will get priced out. So the Warriors can just say, come on back home. Now, a lot of that can change if the Warriors go on a crazy run and if he actually is the X factor.
Well,
but as it currently stands, the Warriors kind of made the Warriors are winning more than Jonathan Kuminga is.
Yeah, and the Warriors already kind of not made their bed, but they're kind of like, we might match, we might not. And maybe their value for him has gone down. Maybe they're still the team that values him the most.
Right.
I guess we'll find out. To the point about people talking about what Keegan's going to get on his contract, I'll add this point. it's probably going to be between 20 and 25, but the market will dictate itself because you know who else is going to sign a contract this offseason? Jabari Smith Jr. with the Rockets.
Yeah.
Jeremy Sohan with the Spurs. Benedict Mathurin with the Pacers. All players who are in Keegan's draft class and all not going to get the max like Chet and Jalen Williams. So if Jabari Smith Jr. gets $30 million a year,
Keegan's getting at least 23.
Oh, he's getting more than that. I'm saying, if Jabari Smith Jr. gets $25 million a year, Keegan's probably slotted in right at that number. If Jabari Smith Jr. gets $30 million a year and signs before Keegan, then I mean Keegan's going back and saying yesterday's price is not today's price because look what Houston just paid Jabari Smith Jr. And I just use that example because Jabari was the 3 pick, Keegan was the 4 pick. They both have had relatively similar careers so far. If you look at their production, their values are more comparable than anything else you're going to look at. So the market will take care of itself. And I would assume based on everything the Kings have invested in Keegan, they'll want to sign him to an extension, assuming that this front office is the one making the decisions this offseason.
Plenty of time to talk about that. I also found that ESPN top 25 players under 25, and these guys are either number 1 options. Most of them are either number 1 or number 2 options, or their team stinks, or both. So that's how this whole thing breaks down. There are a couple that don't fall into that category, but that's how most of it goes. So yeah, the Keegan Murray thing, I think it's fascinating. I think he's going to be with the Sacramento Kings at least through this next extension and contract. So yeah, if that doesn't happen, I'd be very surprised.
And then briefly before we go, the 910 is asking who's more untouchable versus Keegan or Keon Ellis. And I would just say it's not apples to apples because Keon's an unrestricted free agent. He can sign for whatever he wants in 2026 with any team versus Keegan's a restricted free agent who anywhere he signs, the Kings can match. So I don't think it's exactly apples to apples with their contracts.
Yeah. All right. I've teased it enough for a whole hour. Honestly, the epiphany did not come last night. It actually kind of came this morning as I hadn't even left the house yet, was just kind of walking around, getting ready. And I was just thinking about that Sean Cunningham interview and what he said about the retooling. And then I went back and thought about, look, man, Zach LaVine is looking pretty comfortable these days. He's looking pretty darn comfortable. So I started thinking about the future of the Kings. And yes, I'm stuck on Spurs Twitter, and De'Aaron had another rough game as they lost to the Houston Rockets. He had, in 28 minutes, he had 7 points, 3 assists, and 3 rebounds. I don't know why he's playing, but it just made me think, is there a world where the Kings can win this trade? Because most of the time you lose your franchise guy, you don't win. And you end up blowing it up, and maybe down the line you win it if you draft the right guys. I would say a OKC kind of situation where you lost Paul George. And I guess Paul George was your franchise guy, but it was kind of weird because he just kind of hopped in there to help out Russell Westbrook. So kind of a weird situation, not a purebred, we drafted this guy, it's no longer working, we have to move on from him, or he would like to be on his way. On top of that, he has given us one, to keep it relatively speaking, he's given us one team to work with. How can we win this trade? And I do think that there is a path. And it is a conversation between the Chris Biederman approach of the Sacramento Bee, who another great interview that we did last week. You can check that out. And I really like how the two takes are just polar opposite. And they're both really close to the organization. They both heard things. But Chris Biederman says, hey, you don't make the playoffs, there is a possibility this whole thing blows up. And Doug Christie might also be collateral damage because you have Monty McNair involved. And is Doug Christie a Monty McNair guy? Is Doug Christie a Vivek guy? I have been told that it is closer to the latter with Mr. Vivek than the former, but we don't know. And if a team stinks, right, what do you do next? There's also an argument going back to the Sean Cunningham interview and Sean Cunningham's approach, where This is not a lot of time for a team to figure it out. This has been a tumultuous season. You've added who adds a number one option at the deadline trying to win now? I guess the only comparison is Luka, and Luka's an alien. Not the one in San Antonio, but he's his own type of alien. Smokes too much hookah and is fat and drinks beer, according to the Mavs, but he's an alien.
And is going to have a medical
disaster
in the next 5 years.
But he's an alien. But most of the time at the trade deadline, unless you're completely blowing something up, right, you don't lose your franchise guy and retool, and maybe there's a reason for that. But the Kings, you look at what they've done so far, and you can make a tweak here or there in the offseason to put you in a position to where you're not just scratching and clawing for the number 6 seed as always. I believe if guys play the way that they should be playing and they play to their salaries, to be completely honest with you, this team, with some of the right moves in the offseason, you could be looking at, I don't know about 3, but you could look at a 4 seed, a 5 seed, and the basement could more so be a 6 seed. A lot has to go right. And when we get back on the other side here, you might not like how you have to get there, but there is a path. And there is one thing that starts that path that some people may not like. There's another thing that might get to that path, which a lot of people might not like, including myself. And we get to those two things on the other side. And you know how we get down on this show. I want calls. I want texts. Am I insane? Where is Allen? Is he missing the Michael Jordan's magic stuff like Space Jam, like Jordan Clarkson last night? Because I'm going to say some things on the other side that are going to be completely different than how I have felt. Now, do I think they should do this? I don't know. We're going to know a lot more at the end of the season. But even if this thing completely falls off the rails, patience is a virtue that the Kings have not practiced. And maybe this is their opportunity to do that. Allen Stiles, Sacktown Sports.
All guests and callers join us from the Folsom Lake Honda Hotline. Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop.
On the move? Got somewhere to be?
Take Sacramento Kings basketball with you. The Sacktown Sports app will let you stay connected to your passion. Never miss a moment of Sacramento Kings basketball with the Sacktown Sports app.
As we all continue to hear scary ads about the IRS, Tax Relief Advocates is leading the way, showing U.S. taxpayers why they don't need to be afraid of the IRS. Whether you owe the IRS $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, TRA has a solution. With major tax relief initiatives currently in effect, we could reduce or even eliminate what you owe to the IRS, business or personal. Our experts know how to resolve tax problems and end all collections. TRA is America's highly rated tax resolution firm with an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau and thousands of 5-star Google reviews. Don't wait. You may qualify for a significant tax debt reduction that can give you a fresh start, but you must call. For a free consultation and to check what tax relief you qualify for, visit TRA.com or call our relief hotline at 800-335-8578. 800-335-8578. Again, that's 800-335-8578. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Allen Stiles. Watch the show on youtube.com/Sacktown Sports 1140.
Or listen on the Sacktown Sports app.
All right, let's do it. And there is already, I haven't even said the path yet. And there are people, Sam on the Sack chat, saying, I'm just tuning in, and this guy's talking about a 4 seed next season. Is he on the Hookah Luka? No, I'm not. Again, I'm being purposefully optimistic as we spend a lot of time talking about the other side of it. And Sean Cunningham, he wasn't even necessarily optimistic yesterday. His approach was more so saying anything can happen. And I do think that we've maybe spent too much time thinking about or assuming that the bad will happen. Maybe it's because there's a larger chance that the Kings don't get into the playoffs and this thing doesn't work out than there is that it does happen. And I think that's fair. But as we know with percentages, there's always a percentage where this thing does work. And I don't think we talk about that enough. Maybe it's a protection mechanism or something like that, but I'm going to do it here. Now, to do it, like I said, you might not like how you get there. So here's the first thing in this path where the Kings can essentially win the De'Aaron Fox trade. And I would say winning it is by, I guess you could say, well, they ended up moving Zach LaVine and DeMar and guys that they got for De'Aaron, and 10 years later they got picks that ended up being good, so they did win the Fox trade. No. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about in a more immediate future being able to say that the Kings won the Fox trade. Now, certain things have to happen. And like I said, you might not like it, okay? The first thing that absolutely has to happen in order for this plan optimism to work is Monty McNair has to stay. Monty McNair has to stay in order for this thing to work. He has shown a propensity to make moves when necessary. I think maybe the guardrails are a bit off now. The training wheels are off, and the obsession with the Kings' obsession with being patient in some regards of the organization and not in others has been confusing. But the first thing in order for this to work, now again, this is more of a short-term, this is all a short-term plan, okay? The first thing that would have to happen is that Monty McNair has to stay, because you're not bringing in a new GM to handle what Monty McNair has created. Like it or hate it, love it or hate it or love it, this is what he's created. He has the best pulse on it. So that's the first thing. Obviously, you need guys playing at a high level. So as I watch Zach LaVine get 22 points yesterday in a quiet 22, and I watched Zach LaVine get 42 a couple games ago, and of course, this whole thing could get completely obliterated in March. I'm not saying that this is where I want to go. I'm saying this is a possibility. So you see Zach LaVine start to find his way a little bit. You start looking around at the team, and you say, okay, well, a lot of these guys are on contract. About 6 of the core guys are still on contract, right? And regardless of whether you come to an agreement with Keegan or not, he's on contract next season. So, all right, you look at Domantas Sabonis, you look at a Zach LaVine, you see what Malik Monk is doing and DeMar DeRozan, and you say, okay, Domantas Sabonis, and you added in a Jonas Valanciunas, some nice supplementary pieces. Okay, so Zach LaVine is playing at the level he was playing at with the Chicago Bulls. Domantas Sabonis is Domantas Sabonis. All right, now is where it gets a little. You have Keegan Murray under contract. Now, to me, is where it gets a little dicey, because you're looking at a DeMar DeRozan who, whether he sees the path with you or not, this is where the plate that we were talking about, the dinner plate, doesn't make a ton of sense. So you have a conversation with DeMar. You're 35, 36 years old. We really love what you did, but we're trying to make this thing make sense. And it just doesn't make sense right now. And barring a second round trip to the playoffs, there is no argument to keep this specific starting lineup together. So you go to DeMar, you say, hey, DeMar, I know things are fun out here, and we think you're enjoying your time, but we remember what you said on the FanDuel show, Run It Back Pod, with Michelle Beadle, friend of the show. We remember what you said to those guys, and we want to give you an opportunity. So a DeMar DeRozan reroute happens, okay? Now Zach LaVine and Keegan Murray and Domantas Sabonis, you know those 3 are there. Who's next on the list? And this is the second thing that I don't necessarily love. Now you have a conversation about Malik Monk, and you have a conversation. Thank you. You have a conversation about the pizza guy, and you say,
I'm
"Hey,
a pizza guy."
Are we in a position where we even think that Malik Monk and Zach LaVine can coexist?" Now, you can have a conversation about bringing Malik Monk off the bench again, or you can look at what else is out there. And I said this to Dave on the others during Crosstalk, at the end of Crosstalk. He called me insane. And I am not saying that this player is going to save everything. What I'm saying is it gives everyone a different look, okay? And it takes two to tango, right? It gives everyone a different look. It gives an opportunity to sell some version of a big three and compete at a high level. It gives Keegan Murray more runway as we get into Keegan wanting a certain amount of money. If you pay Keegan what he wants, much to TC's chagrin, one of our favorite callers, and you give Keegan $25 million or something like that, you say, "Hey, Keegan, we gave you $25 million. This is what we expect from you. We gave you $23 million. We expect different things from you." This could be the thing that pulls everything together. There are question marks, and I'm not saying that this team that I'm Frankenstein creating here is going to sit there and get to the promised land, but it gives you an opportunity to build something. Right now, the Kings aren't necessarily building something. Again, this is based on them not making a crazy run this specific season. We will tell you who that player is on the other side. Allen Stiles, Sacramento Sports.
This Saturday, Kings and Rockets. Game night with Scott Marsh and the high flyer Henry Turner starts at 3:30. Tip-off at 5.
The Kings play here on Sacktown Sports.
Sacktown Sports, 1140.
Dunks, threes, buzzer beaters. There's so much NBA happening. I gotta keep up.
Easy there. There's a better way to NBA with the NBA app.
Wait, really?
Follow your favorite teams and the league's brightest stars. Be on the ball with real-time stats and scores.
Yeah?
And go behind all the drama with new docs and shows. Catch every swish, dunk, and bucket. All of this, all in one place, all for free.
Thank you.
There's a better way to NBA. Download the app today. Available on the Google Play, Apple app, and Android stores.
Sacramento's premier country music festival, Country in the Park, is coming back May 16th and 17th at Cal Expo with Bailey Zimmerman, Billy Currington, Cole Wetzel, Nate Smith, and more. You'll enjoy food trucks, rock walls, and a mechanical bull, line dancing, and more. Single-day GA tickets start at $52 at CITPFest.com. Country in the Park, May 16th and 17th with Save Mart and McKee Brothers Plumbing and Rooter Incorporated. Find out more at CITPFest.com.
Whitey here, reminding you that not all grills are created equal and every detail matters. Check out the new Napoleon Prestige and Rogue models and see the difference a Napoleon makes. Napoleon grills have features other grills can't match. They're built different, built better, built to last. Complete with a lifetime warranty and premium stainless steel, boasting absolute quality. Napoleon knows that the smallest details add up to make a big difference when curating your perfect grilling experience. Visit Green Acres Nursery today for your best selection of Napoleon grills and accessories.
Hi, I'm Justin Gingery from the law firm of Gingery, Hammer & Associates. When you have been injured by the fault of another, you will want advice you can trust. If you know an attorney you can trust, I hope you call that person. But if you don't, please call me. I promise I will be the attorney you can trust, along with my entire team. I have been helping accident survivors recover compensation for their injuries for 25 years, and we can help you. There is no charge for calling. If you have an injury, just call Gingery.
Hey, it's Carmichael Dave for my good friends at American Energy. It's cold, and American Energy wants you to stay warm and make sure your system's operating safely. Here's the deal. A $49 tune-up inspection, which is regularly $119. That's a full safety and duct inspection. But guess what? If your system's over 10 years old, the tune-up is on them. That's right. It's free. Give them a call right now. $50 off your first recommended repair. And if you need a new furnace, half off the price of a new unit. Oh, by the way, breaking news. They're hiring right now. Here's the deal. They'll train you. Full benefits, generous incentive-based pay. Just call today for more details. at 916-520-9990. That's 916-520-9990. Not only great deals from American Energy, but possibly a new career for you. Check them out at theaeway.com for an instant quote and tell them Carmichael Dave sent you.
Call 916-520-9990 now.
Hello, Sacramento. I'm Emron Pilati, owner of True Sports Cards and Collectible Store here in Rockland, California, and the host of the True Sports Cards Show that airs right here on Sacktown Sports 1140 every Saturday from 10 to 11 a.m., where we discuss the latest trends, hottest products, and deliver exclusive interviews with other industry leaders. And don't forget to visit our shop, True Sports Cards, at 6661 Stanford Ranch Road in Rockland and see what we have for all your sports card and memorabilia needs.
Don't miss your chance to win tickets to the Sacramento Boat Show and Off-Road Expo March 6th through the 9th at Cal Expo, the largest outdoor recreation show in the market. Just go to sacktownsports.com now for your chance to win.
Your home for Kings talk and so much more.
Live and local.
Allen Stiles on Sacktown Sports.
Nicely done, Kyle. A little foreshadowing. And before I say this, I am not saying to do this. I am using this as an example. Somebody on the text line said move DeMar for John Collins, right? And that would be any DeMar conversation that we're having is some version. This is Tong on the Sack Chat. Would be a reroute. Do you think that's enough to get you out of the play-in conversation? Malik Monk, John Collins, Zach LaVine, DeMontis Sabonis, and Keegan Murray. Maybe that's possible. So put in whatever you want to put in. This is something I thought about, which is an expensive lineup, but it could put you in a position where you have a big three. You're offensively very good. Defensively, it's not a fully baked out situation, but there are things that can be tweaked and can be done. Okay, so just hang with me here. And you can call me nuts. That's fine. You can call me nuts. I'm not saying to do it. I'm saying these are pathways to making this dish make sense. So I know I'm doing this before the roundtable shows up because they definitely wouldn't like it, especially during the season. But hey, there's a couple days off. They don't play till Saturday, so let's have a little bit of fun. I know that the Atlanta Hawks are really high on Trae Young, and I know that Trae Young makes a lot of money. But I was actually inspired by this from a texter. Now, the texter essentially wanted to add Trae Young and bring Malik Monk off the bench. Unfortunately, Trae Young is making a ton of money. You have two guys making a ton of money in Zach LaVine and Trae Young. And their contracts line up as they both have player options to make a lot more money or to continue to make a lot of money going into the 2026-2027 season. So you would have one season with this, right? And you would basically be making a move because of the money for DeMar DeRozan, who we think wants out. He would not end up in in Atlanta. He would end up in wherever, right? He would get rerouted somewhere.
Insert contender here.
Exactly. And the other name that you would move off of, which would hurt, and I would definitely be feeling it, would be Malik Monk.
I'm a pizza guy.
So the deal would be DeMar DeRozan, Malik Monk for Trae Young. It's possible Trae Young walks away from $50 million at the end of next season. I doubt it.
I think he probably does. He's a max player in the league.
We'll see. So you give yourself a year of Trae Young, Zach LaVine, and DeMontis Sabonis. Two of those guys have opt-outs. Let's say they opt out. Then you have a boatload of money to make new moves with. And at that point, you say, all right, we officially didn't win this trade, and now we are going to go into tank mode, and that gives Domantas Sabonis a couple more years to play as a contender. The Keegan Murray conversation, you do have to figure out who that fifth starter is, but the Keegan Murray conversation, he will be more at the forefront offensively. You could start Keon Ellis if you wanted. I think that would be kind of a small lineup, but you could. You still have Jonas Valanciunas on contract. That's 3 years. Or you go out and get yourself a Royce O'Neal in that 4 spot and go with a bigger lineup. I'm not saying to do this, as I literally said earlier this week that Malik Monk is my favorite player, but these are pathways that I think you can play with if you're a fan of Marvel and Doctor Strange in the multiverse. These are pathways that you can play with for Monty McNair to say, all right, there are a couple things that we can do here or there to keep us in the conversation. You have a elite point guard in Trae Young. You have a high-volume scorer in Zach LaVine. You have Domantas Sabonis as Domantas Sabonis. The pick and roll with Trae Young and Domantas Sabonis would be insane. The biggest question is defense. But right now, your defense isn't good, and your offense is kind of weird. At least this offense would make a lot of sense.
So I understand why you're doing this thought experiment, because we should consider a world where they become buyers again in the summer with the tool chest that they have restocked from the De'Aaron Fox trade.
Yeah.
Instead of sitting on the Minnesota draft pick and the Spurs draft pick and the 2 Charlotte second rounders, you just want to consider a world, if I'm understanding this right, you want to consider a world where they take those assets and buy to try and go all in on 2025. And if it doesn't work, everyone's getting fired, so it doesn't matter. Let's just throw caution into the wind. But if it does work, hey, you get a max all-star for the next 5 years. You know, maybe Trae Young signs an extension, or even if it's not Trae Young, insert all-star here, signs an extension, and they have his bird rights, and awesome. They flip De'Aaron Fox into an all-star guard. I understand that part of it.
Dwayne Baker, people in the Sack chat are saying, let's be realistic. You know what? Damn it. I'm realistic all the time. Give me a break. Dwayne Baker wants to talk about, I'd rather see what Markelle Fultz can do. That's probably what's going to happen, Dwayne. Don't worry.
Markelle Fultz was picked higher than both of them.
Don't worry. The Kings are probably going to see what Markelle Fultz can do.
4 minutes last night.
And probably, I don't know, maybe they do get John Collins for DeMar DeRozan. Honestly, does that get you up in the morning? I don't know.
That makes them a worse team.
Defensively, are they better? I don't know.
You're not a better team if you flip DeMar DeRozan for John Collins. Put that out there.
The issue is now you have kind of a point guard problem. So the Kings still have some of the same problems, and now they somehow have more problems. So I'm trying to make this thing make sense. The John Collins conversation was great when you had De'Aaron Fox. Moving off of De'Aaron Fox and getting Zach LaVine, we now know they might be the same. They might be the same as far as the production, or similar as far as production, but they're not the same player. So now, again, you might have the same amount on your plate, but it's a different type of food that doesn't make sense as the last type of food did. That's the issue.
So I know you said this was inspired by a texter yesterday who brought up the Trae Young possibility. Do you think Trae Young is a better basketball player right now than De'Aaron Fox?
Depends on who you ask. I would say when De'Aaron is engaged, no.
No, as in...
All right, when De'Aaron is engaged, De'Aaron is better than Trae Young.
Okay, that's the one I was looking for. Okay, so depending on who you ask, I would argue Trae Young was an all-star this year, so therefore you could check the box for Trae Young.
It's a great point.
So I just bring that up to say the underlying point I feel like is this. The way that you win most of these trades in the NBA is who gets the best player. And so this idea of salvaging the quote-unquote salvaging the De'Aaron Fox trade comes from, can they end up with a guard as good or better than De'Aaron Fox at the end of all of this, which could still be Zach LaVine. It's just hard to envision that path the way this team is constructed, that Zach LaVine is going to be as impactful to what Sacramento is doing as De'Aaron Fox was because of roster construction reasons.
It's also about fit. And right now, as I watch this game after game after game, and I hope that Malik continues to improve, right now, Malik Monk, and it's mostly about, to be honest with all y'all, I'm a Malik Monk guy, and I'm probably going to buy my wife a Malik Monk jersey because she loves Malik Monk too. Would be your first Kings jersey. Malik Monk as your one and Zach LaVine as your two ain't it. So if you want to get a lesser point guard, not get Trae Young, and bring Malik back off the bench, you can do that. That's fine too. I'm okay with that. It doesn't have to be Trae Young. My larger point is I can't have the John Collins conversation anymore because now we have an issue at the 1 and the 2 because I don't really think that Malik and Zach LaVine, they're a little too redundant to work. Trae Young kind of evolving into this pass first. As soon as you forget that I'm a sniper, I can shoot the 3-ball point guard, I think is more conducive. If you have made the decision, Zach LaVine is your one, and I don't think Malik Monk is the best, or your one option, and I don't think Malik Monk is the best point guard for a Zach LaVine number one option offense.
And so if you're going to do the pass first guard with an offense built around Zach LaVine as the number one scoring and shooting option, your idea is just go get the best one.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be Trae Young. I guess as I've gotten to it, my larger point is I don't like the Malik Monk and Zach LaVine thing. And when people chime in, I also don't think that bringing Malik Monk off the bench and Keon Ellis is enough. Because as soon as somebody is texting that right now, well, that's why I've said to do this. I also don't think that's good enough.
Yeah, and we said that talking about starting lineup changes is on the banned list.
Yeah.
And the reason is, as I've concluded, and I think you kind of agreed, is that the problems are in roster construction and we're trying to find answers based on the roster that's here. And there's just, it's not there, right?
Right.
Like
so I'm not going to argue with people about net ratings and Keon Ellis. It's just not good enough.
So I guess if I'm reading this right, what you're trying to do is be like, okay, so what is the correction you could make? What is and obviously it can't be right now, but what is the roster correction you could make to make up for whatever this interim beam team version is?
And my take would be to just say, we're going offense, but we're going, because right now, you know, people are chiming in, we have enough offense, but the offense doesn't make sense, right? Like I said, there's no orchestrator. So if you're going to go full-blown offense, now you have Malik, who is not a great defender, but offensively it doesn't make sense. You bring in Trae Young, who obviously Trae Young costs more, but you bring in Trae Young and you're going offense, and that offense makes sense. What you do for that fifth starter, because right now it would be Trae Young. It would be Trae Young. You have, obviously, Keegan Murray, Domantas Sabonis, and Zach LaVine. Who that fourth guy is, I don't know. You know what I mean? But it could be Keon. I'm not necessarily against that. Or you get a lesser John Collins that you can find, and you rock and roll from there. So that's kind of my approach. There's somebody, Duck, I don't know if I can say the last word, Duck on the Sac chat is saying Tyus Jones could work in that spot. I agree. Tyus Jones, I don't know if he made any more money with the Suns. He started out hot, and then all of a sudden he has cooled off a bit. If you can go get a Tyus Jones and then bring Malik Monk off the bench, I'm with that too. I still think that it's just something is still missing, but I wouldn't be against. That would be a version of what I'm saying, but to a lesser degree. And the other part of it is you would eliminate the point guard issue. Then the conversation is, can DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine coexist, which I also don't know.
Well, also in your underlying point is the Malik Monk, Zach LaVine thing doesn't make sense, right?
No, it doesn't.
So if you just go out and get Marcus Smart or Tyus Jones or one of those veteran guard
Malcolm
options,
Brogdon.
Malcolm Brogdon, even though he's probably closer to a 2-guard also, even if you get one of those guys, does that solve the Malik Monk, Zach LaVine concerns you have? No, it just gives you more options to move Malik to the bench. But as we mentioned, Tyus Jones, Marcus Smart, Markelle Fultz, those are players that are not as good as Malik. So you're actively making your starting unit worse and possibly, alienating Malik by moving him back to the bench for a player that's not as good as Malik when he wants to make this point guard thing work.
Right. And on the other side of it, I know, like I said, we're just having some fun here. On the other side of it, the Atlanta Hawks, Dyson Daniels is slotted as a point guard, shooting guard. I don't watch a lot of Hawks games, but I rarely see him handle the basketball. So why the Hawks would want Malik Monk, they could kind of work together to just figure out, okay, we're kind of helping each other get through this point guard thing, and maybe they bring in, a vet guy. And like I said, DeMar DeRozan would get rerouted somewhere else. So that's why I think there could be some interest there as the Hawks are trying to make this thing work. And look, I know that the Hawks are really, really high on Trae Young, and they think he puts butts in the seats. But, there is a lot of conversation to be had about the Kings not blowing it up, and ultimately, to tie a bow on this thing, them being a tweak here or there. I'm not saying that Trae Young is the tweak. I'm saying that I am now of the belief that although I don't think that this roster currently makes sense, you have to keep Monty McNair around unless you're just going to blow the whole thing up. I don't think you can trust another GM to tweak this. And I don't know that ownership wants to fully blow it up.
And the last thing is it for the player itself, if some people are saying it's Trae Young is the unrealistic part, and this is if, because he doesn't seem unhappy. If Trae Young says this offseason, I'm not going to sign an extension, just like De'Aaron Fox, 2 years out from free agency with a player option, so basically 1 year out, he's going to get traded this offseason.
Yeah.
Because the Hawks can't lose him for nothing.
And I'm not saying to do it. I'm just saying, like I said, I'm asking questions. Let's keep this conversation going. And we ask something that we never really do. Is Domantas Sabonis in a slump? Allen Stiles, Sacramento Sports.
This Saturday, Kings and Rockets. Game night with Scott Marsh and the high flyer Henry Turner starts at 3:30. Tip off at 5.
The Kings play here on Sacktown Sports.
Sacktown Sports, 1140.
Look out, world, we're getting strong. The future's here and we belong. She can STEM, she can do more. Like build a rocket and watch it soar. Clean the oceans and make the world a better place. Oh, she can STEM, so can you. Find a cure, invent something new. There's no challenge in the world that she can't face. She can STEM.
Learn more at She Can STEM. A message brought to you by the Ad Council.
No two people learn the exact same way. So how did Babbel become the award-winning language learning app? We thought of you, all of you. Take Sierra. As a visual learner, she uses Babbel's wordplay videos.
Today I'll share a quick lesson on shopping in French.
Merci beaucoup. Keith is a be in the room with real people kind of learner. So he loves the live online classes with our language experts.
Okay, class. Vos está pronto.
Estamos prontos.
However you learn, Babbel makes it easy. Try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
Did you know your skin is the largest organ of your body? Huh? That's why you should shower with Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash instead of plain old bar soap. Love your skin by super hydrating it with vitamin B3 and glorious notes of vanilla and shea. Did you know that my super hydrated skin is the second largest organ of my body? The first is my heart. Old Spice. Men have skin too. Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash. 24/7 renewing moisture. With daily use.
What if your business could see beyond what is and into what can be? What if you could create more impact in every decision? What if you had a partner as visionary as you are? With Bank of America, you get access to our trusted experts, real-time insights, and digital tools. So whether you run a local shop or a global enterprise, you're backed by business solutions to make every move matter. What would you like the power to do? Find out how at bankofamerica.com/banking for business. Bank of America is proud to be the official bank sponsor of FIFA World Cup 2026.
Tired of hearing scary radio ads about the IRS? Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000 or $500,000, we have a solution. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS with zero risk to you. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with a BBB. End your tax nightmare today by visiting TRA.com or call 800-275-1728. That's 800-275-1728.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm. An important message about your timeshare from Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group.
If you receive an unsolicited phone call or mail piece to discuss selling, renting, or especially canceling your timeshare, don't fall for it. Contact your timeshare resort or Wesley Financial Group for assistance, and I'll send you our timeshare exit information kit free with the straight facts about timeshare cancellation.
Call 800-292-7788. 800-292-7788.
Allen Stiles
You can join the show by texting 916-339-1140.
on Sacktown Sports.
Shout out to all the texters out there. I thought it was weird, not to toot my own horn. And by the way, Dave talked about it a little bit. I'm still figuring out how to talk about this without sounding any type of way. But yeah, ratings were pretty good last month. And I want to thank, number one, De'Aaron Fox and the Kings organization.
I mean, it doesn't really matter.
And I really want to thank all the listeners because, look, those that have been rocking with me, and I'll go back and forth with y'all. I've called myself the Kevin Durant of local sports media out here in Sacramento. I don't take
you have, Jesus.
Yeah, I don't take any mess. I have some fun with it, but I really want to say I appreciate everybody that's been listening. If you've been listening for the last couple minutes, if you've been listening for the last week, month, year, back when it was Stiles and Watkins as well, really do appreciate it. My family and I, we love it out here in Sacramento. We want to continue to make this a home. And, we really hope the Kings keep winning and we can keep moving in the right direction. So wanted to give a shout out to everybody. And I'll do it one more time because I know people are in and out. I'll bring it up again in the 1 o'clock hour for those who may have missed it. But just wanted to thank all of you for making us a part of your day. And yeah, a lot of things can change in this industry, but really do appreciate it. But with that being said, part of that are our beloved texters on the text line. So I didn't see a text for the whole show. And again, not tooting my own horn, I'm just thinking this is kind of weird. So I go to refresh it. It turns out this internet is not connected. So if you've been texting like crazy, 916-339-1140, I will get to the bottom of this. I will put on my old school tech hat from back in the day and get to the bottom of this so we can read your text, because I'm sure some people had some things to say about the Trae Young trade.
Let's do that right now. 916. Yes, I feel
so
you.
So you have it. I don't, but you do. Okay.
Yeah, I always have the text line.
Okay.
The problem isn't the text line. The problem is your internet.
That's right.
916. Yes, I feel you so much because the offense last night was very stale with Monk in there. I think Month, I'm sure they're saying Monk, can't handle that starting point guard pressure. He needs to come off the bench again. 916, Young and Levine are shutting down everyone. LOL. 530, why does the KD of the radio station have beef with the LeBron James of the radio station?
That's a good point. I
don't think being the KD of the radio station sounds as cool as you think it is.
I'm just saying I will get into it with texters and sack chatters. It's all in good fun.
916
and on Twitter, I'll do the same thing. That's the only way I would say that I am KD like. And I'm not even KD like because I don't do it from a burner. I do it on my own.
Well, the Styles Files is technically a burner.
Everyone knows who it is.
Yeah, but it's still a burner.
Go ahead.
Anyways, 916, getting Trae Young after losing Fox would help Kings fans sleep better.
That's what I'm saying. So the texters are in. Sack chat's out. Texters are in. 916-339-1140. We're trying to see where the callers are at.
916, hasn't Atlanta fleeced us enough?
All right.
This is my favorite one from the last, call it 30 minutes. There's a lot of them, so I'm trying to sift through them.
Yeah.
But 916, Zach, spelled Z-A-C-K, Levine, spelled like Adam Levine,
Right.
L-E-V-I-N, is not the trade-off, O-F, for the Aaron Fox. DeMar DeRozan is Levine, again spelled like Adam Levine, is replacing Kevin Herder, H-E-R-D-E-R, the failed experiment.
That just gave me a migraine.
Also, they followed that up with, it's not fair to ask Monk to be the head ping guard.
Well, thank you, Kyle. I will get to all you texters, so keep sending them in. We will get this whole thing figured
Also,
out.
916, I'm glad TC is not our GM.
That one is, I think, a weekly text. I think they just have that set on their phone to send every once a week. All right, let's get to this, and we're going to continue the conversation with the roundtable. I believe it's a fully loaded roundtable, so we're going to sneak in.
That's what we do.
We're going to sneak in some calls here on the Trae Young piece. I'm actually afraid to say this to the roundtable. I don't even know if I'm going to say it. Call my bluff. Will I bring it up to them?
But you don't even really believe it.
No. I still don't want to say it.
If I understood it, your underlying point is, do they go in this offseason and try and cash in? Because they didn't trade everything for De'Aaron Fox.
Right.
I'm going to try and do this off the top of my head. So if I missed someone, apologies. But they traded De'Aaron Fox, Kevin Herter, Jordan McLaughlin, Colby Jones, Alex Len, and a second-round pick in exchange for Zach LaVine, Jonas Valanciunas, Jake LaRavia, 2 first-round picks, and 3 second-round picks. 2 of which are Charlotte, which is actually going to be pretty good because Charlotte's probably going to be bad for the next 2 years. So they're going to be like high second-round picks. So they still have 2 first-round picks, a bunch of seconds, and assuming they end up in the 10, every one of their own draft picks into perpetuity except for the pick swap that they couldn't get back from San Antonio to trade with. And you can make an all-in move if you want. The question is just, should you make an all-in move for a general manager whose seat is like burning on fire?
Yeah, and yeah, that's ultimately the question. I'm going to save this Domantas Sabonis thing because I want to hear what the guys have to say about it. Mitch is on the line, 916-339-1140. Let's sneak him in before the roundtable joins us. What's up, Mitch? What you got for us?
How you doing, Alan?
Hey.
Kyle. Yeah, we got to keep Keegan. I mean, he's really our only draft choice.
Yeah.
Him, Devin Carter, which we haven't seen much of, and kind of short, and Keon. We're not the Lakers. Lakers, they don't keep the draft choices, but they get stars. We seem to be, now we need point guards, by the way. We're all point. We've been drafting point guards, and now we need point guards.
Thanks for the call, Mitch. Great stuff as always. Well, the problem is you can't just keep someone because you drafted them, right? I'm not saying that that's not a good reason. If you think that Keegan can be somebody in this league, and it's interesting comparing him to some of the other guys. I think Benedict Mathurin went right after Keegan. I think he went 5 or something like that. So a lot of conversations to be had, and I'm not saying to move off of Keegan. It's just a matter of, is it going to match up how much Keegan wants to be paid and how much the Kings want to pay him. Real quick, since we're here, and like I said, we're going to talk to the guys, the Kings insiders, Brendan Nunez, Chris Watkins, Frankie Cardicelli. They all responded to my text, so I think they will all be in here, and we will get their thoughts on Domantas Sabonis and maybe my thoughts on retooling, we would say. But let's go through this list of ESPN's top 25 under 25 when we're having the Keegan Murray conversation. And like I said, the team either stinks or they are, I would say, a number one option, and they're supposed to be a real stud in this league at some point. Those are the 2 options here. Okay, Bilal Coulibaly, that team stinks. Tari Eason, that one is kind of interesting because he falls into a weird in between.
He is also eligible for a rookie scale extension this offseason.
Right, a lot of these guys. Dyson Daniels, he's turning into a stud defensively, but that team kind of stinks. Amen Thompson, he's going to be a stud, and there are a lot of Rockets on this list. Tyler Hero, he's supposed to be a stud. Jalen Green, another Rockets player.
I'm guessing this was preseason.
This are really early in the season.
Yeah, because Tyler Hero's probably jumped way up.
Oh yeah. Derek Lively, just a weird situation. Just a good pick, right?
He was the starting center on a team that went to the finals.
Right. Jalen Suggs, they don't stink, but again, he's a Dyson Daniels type. Zion Williamson, I'm not even counting. Of course, Zion should be on this list. Brandon Miller, that team stinks. Darius Garland is a number, I guess, what is he, number 2?
Just call it an all-star on the best team in the NBA, not named OKC.
Cade Cunningham's supposed to be a stud. LaMelo Ball, the team stinks, and he's supposed to be a stud. Scotty Barnes, team stinks, supposed to be a stud. Alperen Şengün, the Rockets are just kind of that team right now with a bunch of young talent.
In year 4 and hasn't made the playoffs.
Who's the other team? The Oklahoma City Thunder. Jalen Williams at number 9, number 2 option, or 2A, 2B. You have Evan Mobley, okay, another young guy. Tyrese Maxey, Tyrese Halliburton, number 5, Chet Holmgren, number 4, Franz Wagner, number 3, Paolo Banchero, number 2, Anthony Edwards, number 1, Victor Wembanyama. So all these guys are getting their looks offensively and obviously defensively. All these guys are getting their looks, or the team stinks, or both, right? The only guys that I think don't fall into those categories, really, Tari Eason and Jalen Suggs. Everybody else, their team either stinks or they're getting a lot of looks, or both. And Keegan, the team doesn't stink. And at the same time, he's not getting his looks. So he's not going to find himself on these lists. Doesn't mean that he's not as good as some of the players on these lists. All right. The insiders join us next. You have Chris Watkins, Brandon Nunez, and Frankie Cardicelli. Let's keep it rocking and rolling in the 12 o'clock hour. Allen Stiles, Sacktown Sports.
This Saturday, Kings and Rockets. Game night with Scott Marsh and the high flyer Henry Turner starts at 3:30. Tip-off at 5.
The Kings play here on Sacktown Sports.
Sacktown Sports, 1140.
Getting your guaranteed maximum refund with TaxSlayer feels like discovering a refund tree has grown in your backyard.
I'm the refund tree.
Sawing off its branches.
Hey.
Feeding them through a wood chipper.
My branches! My beautiful branches!
And dancing in its refund rain. Start for free and get your guaranteed maximum refund. TaxSlayer. File fearlessly.
Hurry in and save big during Honda's President's Day sales event at Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop.
Hurry in and save on our best selection of new Hondas. Each is priced to sell now. Folsom Lake Honda is your one-stop Honda shop for great pricing on a giant selection of new CRVs, HRVs, Civics, and Accords with low finance and lease options. Plus, get an instant cash offer for your trade. Get to Folsom Lake Honda or go to FolsomLakeHonda.com.
Folsom Lake Honda, yeah, your one-stop Honda shop.
Come check out Capital Casino, Sacramento's #1 poker room with the most variety of table games in the region in a safe and friendly environment. Plenty of well-lit parking available, conveniently located in downtown Sacramento. And remember, Capital Casino has the best food, the best service, and the best action. 411 North 16th Street in downtown Sacramento. For more information, log on to capital-casino.com, and please gamble responsibly. 1-800-GAMBLER.
Are you 50 or older? This news is for you. The CDC now recommends you get vaccinated against pneumococcal pneumonia. Even if you're healthy, your age puts you at risk. People 50 or older are over 6 times more likely to be hospitalized with pneumococcal pneumonia compared to adults 18 to 49. Just one shot can help protect you. Learn more and schedule at vaxassist.com. That's VAXassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
T-Mobile 5G home internet keeps getting better. Get our fastest connection loaded with benefits. Get T-Mobile's best home internet starting at $55 a month with auto pay on any voice line. Plus, price lock. We won't raise your rate on internet. Check availability at T-Mobile.com/home internet.
Exclusions like taxes and fees apply. Guarantees regular monthly rate plan price of fixed wireless 5G internet data with qualifying service. After $15 bill credit with postpaid voice line plus $5 a month without auto pay with debit or bank account. Regulatory fees included for qualifying accounts. $35 connection charge applies. Speeds vary due to factors affecting cellular networks.
At Stockton Honda, we know how to honor a great deal. Like right now, during our President's Day sales event, you can find star-spangled savings on some of our best models. Why not stop in today and see for yourself?
Save thousands with low APR financing and great lease rates on over 500 new Hondas at Stockton Honda.
Anytime, anywhere, it's all here. StocktonHonda.com.
You've heard the saying, penny wise, pound foolish, right? It means you do something that will save you a little bit right now, just pennies, but that ends up costing you pounds in the end.
People put off tuning up their furnace because they don't want to take the time or spend the money to get it done.
But it only takes 90 minutes and costs just $87, which is just pennies compared to the huge problems and expenses that can rack up if you don't get your furnace tuned up.
You'll also save money on your energy bills, and your system will last longer.
So don't be penny wise and pound foolish. Call Bell Brothers for a precision tune-up and professional cleaning today.
Our number is 916-444-1234, or find us online at thenosurpriseguys.com.
The No Surprise Guys, Bell Brothers.
Don't miss your chance to win tickets to the Sacramento Boat Show and Off-Road Expo March 6th through the 9th at Cal Expo, the largest outdoor recreation show in the market. Just go to SactownSports.com now for your chance to win.
KHTK HD1 Sacramento, KYMX HD3 Sacramento, from the Power Business Technology Toshiba Studios.
Sacktown Sports, 1140. Your home for Kings talk and so much more.
Live and local.
Allen Stiles on Sacktown Sports.
$12 on the dot. 12 o'clock on the dot, joined by the Sacktown Sports insiders, the Sacktown Sports editors, giving you everything you need on SacktownSports.com. If you don't check out that site every day, you probably should do so. We always have a bunch going on. Be sure to follow us on social media, Instagram, X. You'll see the good work from all three of these fine fellows. I am working to get our TikTok up because Allen Stiles on Sacktown's TikTok is exactly what the people need.
Your own TikTok is popping.
Oh, you know that. It all started with that one cat video with my cat.
I do not remember.
Oh, you got to scroll.
Okay.
I got to clean it up. I got to clean the page up.
I'll find it.
You got to scroll and keep going. And hopefully, guys, the winning keeps going for the Sacramento Kings. Yesterday we talked about how we should react to assuming the Kings take care of business, and now are they 5-2 in the Zach LaVine era? But it's a very weird record simply because they haven't really played an NBA team the whole time. And the one that they played in the Golden State Warriors, they lost to. They also lost to the Pelicans. But now it gets real. It gets real for the Kings as they have a Texas showdown with the Rockets. They get that extra day off. I saw G-Man mention that they got in super late, but luckily they don't play tomorrow. They don't even play tomorrow. They play on Saturday. What are the early returns and takeaways? You can talk specific to last night's game, and we have some specifically with Domantas Sabonis versus just what to make of this team so far.
First of all, happy to be back.
Yes.
Great to see you.
Yeah, happy to have you. Sorry.
First time back?
First
time back.
Yeah.
Oh, really? I didn't realize. Not that Alan gives a damn, but
No, not really, but
Kyle was nice to play the
sounder.
The sound,
your intro.
The number on the way in. That was really just kind of, I feel welcome back.
Mm-hmm.
No, really, it's been kind of interesting watching from afar and then kind of seeing things back up close and personal, how this team looks and kind of the identity and what's different and what's not. What's not different is the defense. And I think that the last few games, the numbers look good, but again, the opponents were, the Charlotte Hornets and the Utah Jazz. And, we joked all up until I left, Brendan, I think about how a blank percent of the Kings wins were against Utah. Well, Utah's not going to be able to save them anymore. They went 4-0 against Utah. No more Jazz games to look forward to. Kings have the second hardest remaining set of the schedule in the NBA down the line. But I do think having the ability, Zach LaVine's ability to be kind of that microwave scorer, kind of like we saw De'Aaron Fox be able to kind of demand the attention of the opposing defenses. He does it differently. I think also kind of point to what Brendan tweeted last night. Every time he lets a three go, it seems like it's going to be nothing but net. His shot is pure. It looks great. I mean, it took a while to kind of get it going. I pull up the numbers. They need to be updated now, but I think after shooting around like 17, 18% his first 4 games here, the 4 games after that, he was around 47%. That's not updated with last night's numbers yet, but I know last night he was around 22 points as well. So kind of it's a different look as far as the offense goes, and they're still kind of trying to find out how that's going to work. And it's kind of scary looking at the schedule coming up, how they're going to do that with the teams they have to go up against. A lot of good defensive teams in that upcoming schedule, but they definitely have talent. It's just, is it the right collection of talent? Is it the right talent to kind of get you past that 9-10 range? Because if they finish 10th, I think that no team has made the playoffs as a 10 seed yet.
No, they haven't. I think
so
they're 0-8.
You got to get out of a 10 at the very least. But the jury's still out. There's 24 games left. Is this team better? I mean, we're definitely going to find out in the next couple of weeks here.
Yeah.
Yeah, 8th in offensive rating since Levine has been playing 9 games now. You're also sitting at 17th in defensive rating. Again, the offense looks good. 4th in field goal percentage. They're 10th in 3-point percentage. The one thing that's really piqued my interest is Doug Christie talking about originally it was 43s that was his number, and then he updated it at the last home game. He said 50,
which they're not going to get to. Right?
They have not done it all year.
Right.
It would be an NBA record. I'm pretty sure. I only went back a couple years, but I'm assuming that we don't have to go back that far.
Right.
Boston is shooting like 47. That's like 3 more than second place.
Right.
Honestly, I don't get that. But I get the point of like, I want this team to shoot more threes. Obviously, Levine for Fox, there's a lot more 3-point shooting there and efficiency. But I think that you're seeing some stuff of not having the traditional playmaker, a typical point guard. Last night, it felt like they were trying to get Malik Monk next to other point guards. And the issue is like, that only means Markelle Fultz, I guess. Like they did it with Keon Ellis. Keon Ellis can't really bring the ball up the floor if he gets pressured, in my mind. Not that, can't might be a little harsh, but I think that sometimes there's hiccups there in that aspect. So I think Frankie put it well. I still worry very much about this team's defense and don't want to put too much stock into. Chris had a great meme the other day. I won't overreact to beating the Hornets and the Jazz.
Yes.
So I think that we're going to find out a lot about this team over this next stretch, really, where you get some real competition and you got to see if you're going to be able to keep up, because as much as, I have a lot of concerns about, it felt like you almost blew both of those games, or not. They comfortably won in the end, but there were stretches where I was like, this is getting a little questionable.
Okay. That kind of leads me to, I guess, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I was looking at it from a prop. My friend was looking at it from a prop talk standpoint.
Yeah.
And
you would never.
That timeout with about 2-ish minutes left, my friend had Sabonis's under for the fourth quarter.
Great.
And I thought my friend was in a great spot.
And when sounds like they need to call the number.
And when they came back from the timeout and the starters were in, I thought that was kind of weird, right? Even objectively speaking. Did you guys think anything of it, or was it just, hey, let's continue to get our work in? Or was it, hey, the Jazz and Jordan Clarkson might actually find a shot? Was that much ado about nothing? I kind of brought it back to, well, they don't even play on Friday. They don't play again until Saturday, but it was kind of interesting. Like, did you not trust your team, or were you getting some work in?
It's probably all the above, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably a lot to do with they need as much practice time as possible, and on the floor practice time is the best kind you can get. I mean, I think Zach even talked about the other day at home that Doug actually talked about how all the guys independently obviously are different learners. Some guys can watch tape. Some guys can just be told. Some guys can watch film. Some guys have to be out there and actually go through it. Zach talked about how he's one of those people who actually has to kind of be in full speed play to kind of get up to rhythm and get up to speed. And I think that it is a good portion of that, but it's also definitely what you just said too, where it's probably that they don't 100% trust that any lead is safe. And especially with a group of guys who don't really know how to play with each other. The other team is still trying to play. They're still trying to win. Going into yesterday's game, I was just thinking, remember when the Kings were in those kind of situations, and you as the team that has 14 wins on the season, you yourself look at the schedule and say, oh, that's an opportunity. Like that's an open game for us to get. And I think that if you're the Utah Jazz, you probably look at last night as an opportunity and a kind of game where you could go and steal. And so I just kind of took it as, they don't feel like any lead is safe at any time until there's like a minute left. Even the other day at home in the Hornets game, like we kind of like they didn't pull the starters until 7 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. Like it was pretty late in that game too. So I think it's just kind of a combination of not fully trusting and, they got to get as much practice time as they can because they're not going to practice much, if at all, the remainder of this season.
Yeah, my friend is done. My friend is taking.
Your friend
a break.
sounds like do not believe
my friend is struggling right now.
Your friend sounds like they have a serious problem.
My friend is really struggling.
Your friend
here.
needs to call the number tomorrow.
Rehashing the Jordan Clarkson thing. I know you guys. I love watching games with you and sitting next to you guys because you see the game through kind of a different lens. The Jordan Clarkson thing. How much of that was him just having an off night, or are we giving any kudos to how the Kings defended him? He looked completely lost, and he tweeted about how bad he was. Are we giving? I don't necessarily remember. He never got going, and I think we almost pay more attention. He's not a brand name like a Steph or something like that, so we weren't really paying attention to. It was more so Jordan Clarkson or who, right? Jordan Clarkson or Keontae George, but because he never got going, I never felt, oh, yeah, Keon really shut him down. How much of it was just a bad day, or did you guys see anything where it was, hey, we didn't need any doubles, and Keon or whoever it was really just never let him get hot at all to the tune of, I think it was an NBA record how poorly he played.
Yeah, I mean, I think the first thing I'll say is that he airballed 2 wide open attempts.
Wide
open. And he didn't even it wasn't. It was far right.
Yeah.
It was not even close. He looked frustrated with himself, obviously. Yeah. He went full Dion Waiters.
Right.
And I just some credit is owed to the Kings. It's a combination of both. I know that's kind of a lame answer, but they did okay with their perimeter containment for the most part. Like Isaiah Collier and Jordan Clarkson starting backcourt. I think they end up with 9 or 11 points there. And sure, you definitely get some credit for that, but it goes both ways, right? Like Utah, I thought had a lot of good looks from 3 that they were just not able to knock down, which is the nature of it. You're not going to make all of them, obviously, but some credit is owed to the Kings. I also thought that they cleaned up their turnovers throughout stretches. There were spurts where I think they had 4 in the first half of the first quarter even, and then you don't do any for the rest of that quarter. And so I think that turnovers being cleaned up helped the Utah's offense not get too much of a rhythm.
Right.
So I think it goes a little bit of both ways, but more than anything, I can't help but forget him airballing some wide open.
And they got picked up from Bryce Sensabaugh with the Kobe when he hit that Kobe mid-range turnaround. I thought, all right, maybe you should leave the starters in because I don't know what's going on. On the other side, let's discuss Domantas Sabonis. Are the guys worried about this little mini slump that Sabonis has been in? The insiders join us. Chris Watkins, Brandon Nunes, Frankie Cardicelli. Let's continue to break it down. Let's get your text. Let's get your sack chat out on Southside on Sports.
This Saturday, Kings and Rockets. Game night with Scott Marsh and the high flyer Henry Turner starts at 3:30. Tip off at 5.
The Kings play here on Sacktown Sports.
Sacktown Sports, 1140.
Things are just better when you switch to Cricket. The sun shines a little brighter. Happy music starts randomly playing. Best of all, you can get iPhone 13 for just $29.99 with the ultra bright Super Retina display and up to 19 hours of video playback, all on Cricket's super fast 5G network. See, isn't that better? Smile, you're on Cricket.
Requires new account imported on $60 plan. First service charge and tax to its sale. $25 activation fee. Terms and restrictions apply. Cricket 5G is not available everywhere. See store for details.
Progressive presents Renters MVP's Most Valuable Possessions. Today's MVP, Emily Neal's 70-inch TV. Because after watching her second-grade students yell at each other for hours, there's nothing Emily enjoys more than watching super-rich housewives also yell at each other. Why? Because those women are not her responsibility. And that's why her TV is today's MVP. Keep your most valuable possessions protected by bundling your renters and auto insurance with Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers not available in all states.
Allen Stiles. Watch the show on youtube.com/SacktownSports1140.
Or listen on the Sacktown Sports app.
Chris Watkins, Frankie Cardicelli, and Brendan Nunes. Can I be honest with you? I've really struggled with this for a while because of Frankie Muniz. So very often where I want to say Frankie Nunes because of Frankie Muniz.
You're saying like combining our names?
Yes, because of the child actor.
Yeah.
Who is now a race car driver.
He's put some respect on it.
I did not know that.
He's in the NASCAR truck series, I think.
Probably a big Kid Rock guy.
I really hope not.
Possibly.
If he shares the name, that's got to be against the rules.
All right. Joining us, I just had to because I almost did it. Is why I said it.
Listen to Kid Rock.
No. Speaking of things that have been off, Domantas Sabonis has been in a bit of a mini slump, guys. Without obviously small sample size, but without Jonas Valanciunas, 20.4 points per game, 14.3 rebounds per game, 6.3 assists on 59.5% from the field, on 13.3 attempts, 46.2% from three on 2.4 attempts. With Jonas Valanciunas, only 8 games, but he's down to 15 points per game. He's up 15.1 rebounds per game, which is really skewed by that 28 rebound game that he had, 5.6 assists a game. So he's down there as well. He's down in field goal percentage, 55%, and he's taking more than 2 less shots a little less than 2 less shots at 11.5 attempts per game. And his 3-pointers are way off. I'm done seeing it. I don't need to see it anymore. 22% from 3 on 2.3 attempts. This is what a Domantas Sabonis slump looks like. He's still extremely more, I was going to say serviceable, more than serviceable, but is it me or is it a slump to you, or is it a bad couple games? It doesn't look the same, guys. He doesn't look the same.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an adjustment period for everyone, essentially. Like, I don't think it's a coincidence that you're seeing Domas, Malik, and De'Aaron, even in his own situation, all struggling. They're all adjusting.
All the
to
old guys.
Different,
yes.
Sure.
Yes.
They're all adjusting to new scenarios. And like, I'm going to preface this with a pause even beforehand, but Domas talked about getting used to playing with Levine.
Okay.
And the quote that he said at practice the other day was, he likes the ball passed to him so he can hold the ball and create. What I do with other guys, he prefers it in a different way.
Yes.
So that's good to know.
Yes, I did see that.
I don't know what to make of he likes to hold the ball and create necessarily, but that means, we're talking less dribble handoffs. It's not a 1 or 2 dribbles thing. I don't know if you guys saw, people were complimenting Kyrie the other day for almost all of his shots being on less than three or less dribbles.
Yeah.
And that's not quite Levine. And so that takes away from Domas's game a little bit.
Which is funny because when I think about Levine, I don't think about him as, when I think about the dribbling the air, he doesn't dribble the air out of the ball. He's not James Harden either. He's somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, it's just not like catching off a dribble handoff and then going straight into my shot.
Right. Right. So yeah, I'm watching him, guys, and he fouled out. He's got the most fouls or something like that in the league. He fouled out at least one of the games. Are you guys worried about Domantas Sabonis or transition adjustment period?
No, I mean, because like Brendan said, it's transitional period. And also, like, I'm looking at it as his minutes are down. I mean, he over the last 3 games, which are, that's post All-Star break, he's playing just around 30 minutes per game. That's about 6 minutes less than his usual average. I mean, you'd like to think in those 6 minutes, half a quarter, he's going to provide, another bucket or 2 or down the line. But the 48% field goal percentage during those couple of games, I mean, the shots aren't falling. The touch hasn't been there. Per usual, Domantas Sabonis viewing experience, you see him get hammered a couple of times around the basket. It seems like he's always kind of, having a conversation with an official or, holding his face or pointing to his eye. But, for a guy who's been consistent for the last
he does point to his eye.
He does a lot. It's right here. And I did kind of find a couple of times that the complaining to the officials for a missed call, like, it's warranted, but there was a couple of times in transition, he really got beat and you got to get back. I mean, one of the guys that kind of drives me crazy is watching Luka for a lot of reasons and watching him play, and we've watched DeMarcus here for years, mind you, but Luka really does, the Dallas was playing 4-on-5 so many times watching him play over the years because he's complaining to the official. And Domas, who, as we know, is not like a rim protector, who's been better on the defensive end for sure, but you got to get back in transition. But I think it's a transitional thing and kind of playing different lineups, and you have more JV, which is supposed to spell Sabonis, and that's more time off the floor, obviously. And JV had a big game last night and can rebound the basketball well, has decent shot. I mean, decent range, knocked down a triple last night. We remember what he did with New Orleans over the past couple of years. But for Sabonis, someone who's been as consistent as you can be the past 2.5 years, an All-NBA player twice, All-Star in there, leading the NBA in rebounding. There's going to be down periods. We've had conversations about Keegan, Kevin Huerter when he was here, Fox when he was here. Players that are they shoot more, that are more streaky. When their shots aren't falling, you have an idea that that's the way the game works, and guys are going to come around and come through. But right now, Domas is kind of going through that in his own regard, and right now, especially around the rim as well.
Well, Chris, the other thing,
I'll be a contrarian if you want to.
Yeah, well, no, because I was going to say is some of this Danny Ainge says I need all the first rounders for Walker Kessler. Is some of this also putting some respect on Walker Kessler's name as well? I don't know.
Hey, man, thank you for passing me that torch. I mean, sure, yeah. I mean, we know Sabonis struggles against kind of guys that he can't out-muscle, out-physical. Like, there's a reason why Jonas has been a problem for him. Guys like Steven Adams have kind of been problems for him. Guys he can't really bully around and push around do definitely give him some problems. But I do kind of think that there is a little bit of fear that you should have about Domantas Sabonis. Like, I do wonder if, we've heard Doug here talk quite a bit about how he wants to rely less on dribble handoffs. That's obviously a lot of where Sabonis gets a lot of his assists. That also probably means less touches for him. Guys like DeRozan, guys like Levine, guys like Malik Monk being empowered means it's going to be a lot more isolation. He can set great screens. We know he still leads the NBA in screen assists and things like that, so he can still be productive. But in terms of kind of him, I've called him the North Star of this team for the past couple years. I don't know if that's going to exist, if this is going to be the guys that are centered around him, a bunch of isolation, or guys who I shouldn't say are isolation players, but guys who are very comfortable in isolation play and might resort to that at the end of the day when the offense breaks down. And I think right now you're kind of seeing them play this. I don't think it's as vibey of an offense as what maybe people might sell it as, but it's definitely not as structured as what we've seen here in Sacramento these past couple years. I don't know. I just think that, in a new system with Sabonis not necessarily being the ultimate offensive focal piece, and we know we'll just call it defensive deficiencies. Like, I do think that there's a big possibility that if he's not going to be as important on offense, you kind of start to see and recognize other things that he might be lacking. And I don't know. It might lead to I don't know. I just feel like in general, a lot of this team is a bunch of pieces that don't really fit together well. And I think it kind of exposes everybody's warts, not just Sabonis, but, I definitely think that, we're seeing some warts in Malik Monk's playmaking, and DeMar DeRozan defensively kind of all season has been a nightmare. But I just kind of feel like all these guys are going to get exposed a little bit because they're all being asked to do a little bit more. And I don't know. I mean, we'll see how much the guys that they brought in kind of help alleviate it. But, to me, it feels like we're kind of stretching all of our guys a little bit thin up top.
Just to combine the two, because I agree, the whole learning process, the end of the learning process could be coming to the conclusion of, hey, maybe this isn't a great fit.
Yeah.
Not that I'm necessarily betting on that, but I think that is a very strong possibility. And I don't blame you at all. I think Anthony Slater was on one of the shows the other day and was talking about Levine. Yeah. Talking about Levine and how you need him to be aggressive, because if he's not leaning into his strengths, then the weaknesses start to feel even worse. And I think that goes into Chris's point here with Domas, that DHO game, that is Domas, and obviously the rebounding, there's other ways to play make, backdoor cuts and all this stuff. But at what point is it all right, we're not even just utilizing this guy?
It's like Kevin Huerter almost, right?
Optimizing.
It's like if Kevin Huerter's not hitting shots, it's great that he can pass. It's great that he's trying his behind off on defense, but I need Kevin Huerter to make shots. And if he's not making shots, then he's not being Kevin Huerter.
Right. And another part of this is, look, when Domantas Sabonis was doing his thing, the Beam Team season, they were the 3rd seed, but of all, and we've talked about this, of all the triple doubles and double, he did all this with the Kings missing the playoffs. So is there a world where less Domantas Sabonis is better for the team, right? But what does that look like?
Not when you're paying him that much.
Well, probably not, but how does that look?
Less means going in a different direction. There's no less with him on your roster, right?
Well, I mean, I think there is.
I mean, how so?
Literally what we're saying. You bring in Jonas Valanciunas, okay? He's obviously not playing as much, but he comes in. It more so goes to what Chris is saying. Well, then you're paying him too much for what he's doing.
Right.
But the team could make more sense. The other pieces could make more sense with Domantas Sabonis in a lesser role, but then it becomes, okay, well, you're not paying him for that lesser role. Yeah. I don't know. Look, we're going to get to the future.
And yeah, I mean, I think we're getting to a point where, like, in the offseason, it's going to have to be, all right, who are we building around?
Yeah.
Look, let's not jump the gun a little bit. On the other side, let's jump into Texas and what the Kings are going to do out there with the Texas Showdown. What do the guys think will happen on this little 3-game road trip? Will anyone say that the Kings go undefeated? Who's got the cojones? I don't think it's me. Allen Stiles, Sacktown Sports.
This Saturday, Kings and Rockets. Game night with Scott Marsh and the high flyer Henry Turner starts at 3:30. Tip-off at 5.
The Kings play here on Sactown Sports.
Sactown Sports, 1140.
I was in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean when it happened. There was a sudden jolt, and our submarine crashed on the seafloor. We were in total darkness.
That's Dr. Dejana Figueroa, a marine biologist and STEM teacher, talking about a deep sea dive she'll never forget.
It's funny. When I was a kid, I was afraid of the ocean, and there I was, 2 miles below the surface. But as a scientist, you prepare for that. Using our training and a little creativity, we fixed the sub and finished our experiments. The dive was just too important. Every dive gives us glimpses at things few people ever get to see. Glowing creatures, fiery undersea volcanoes. When we got back to the surface, I kissed the ground and called my mom, of course. But you know what? I wouldn't trade that dive for anything.
Dr. Figueroa uses her passion for STEM to discover new things and make the world a better place. She can STEM, so can you. Check out She Can STEM for more stories and inspiration. A message from the Ad Council.
Sacramento's premier country music festival, Country in the Park, is coming back May 16th and 17th at Cal Expo with Bailey Zimmerman, Billy Currington, Cole Wetzel, Nate Smith, and more. You'll enjoy food trucks, rock walls, and a mechanical bull, line dancing, and more. Single-day GA tickets start at $52 at CITPFest.com. Country in the Park, May 16th and 17th with Save Mart and McKee Brothers Plumbing and Rooter Incorporated. Find out more at CITPFest.com.
You know, when it's all on the line, you need a big-time closer, and that's especially true when it comes to your garage door. And that's why I recommend National Garage Door, 638-4554. Whitey Gleason here for National Garage Door. Whether you're looking to repair an existing door or get a brand new one installed, you need National Garage Door. Family owned and operated. They've been around since 1974 because service is their number one priority. National Garage Door are the region's BSE, it's broken spring experts. Styles, prices, and quality of the new doors will amaze you. Our garage door was starting to sound kind of, and that's not good. So Kevin from National Garage Door came out. He said patching up the old one was an option, but we're getting a new garage door. We're pretty happy about that. National Garage Door sells quality Rainer branded garage doors. They offer sales, service, and installation on all residential and commercial doors and operators. If you have garage door needs, old ones coming apart, or you're looking to improve your curb appeal, let National Garage Door come through for you in the clutch and be your closer. 638-4554, National Garage Door.
Hey, it's Carmichael Dave for my good friends at American Energy. It's cold, and American Energy wants you to stay warm and make sure your system's operating safely. Here's the deal. A $49 tune-up inspection, which is regularly $119. That's a full safety and duct inspection. But guess what? If your system's over 10 years old, the tune-up is on them. That's right. It's free. Give them a call right now. $50 off your first recommended repair. And if you need a new furnace, half off the price of a new unit. Oh, by the way, breaking news, they're hiring right now. Here's the deal. They'll train you, full benefits, generous incentive-based pay. Just call today for more details at 916-520-9990. That's 916-520-9990. Not only great deals from American Energy, but possibly a new career for you. Check them out at theaeway.com for an instant quote and tell them Carmichael Dave sent you.
Call 916-520-9990 now.
Hurry in and save big during Honda's President's Day sales event at Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop.
Hurry in and save on our best selection of new Hondas. Each is priced to sell now. Folsom Lake Honda is your one-stop Honda shop for great pricing on a giant selection of new CRVs, HRVs, Civics, and Accords with low finance and lease options. Plus, get an instant cash offer for your trade. Get to Folsom Lake Honda or go to FolsomLakeHonda.com.
Folsom Lake Honda. Yeah, your one-stop Honda shop.
If your passion is bass fishing, only one radio show has the action, information, and excitement of your favorite outdoor sport. Ultimate Bass, hosted by Tournament Bass Pro and California Outdoor Hall of Famer Kent Brown, takes you live to where the fish are biting every Saturday morning. Only Ultimate Bass feeds your passion with the latest news, products, tips, and advice from the pros. Ultimate Bass with Kent Brown, Saturday mornings at 5 a.m. on Sacktown Sports 1140, part of SEP's Saturday Morning Outdoors.
We're home for Kings Talk and so much more.
Live and vocal.
Allen Stiles on Sacktown Sports.
Joined by Chris Watkins, Frankie Cardicelli, and Brendan Nunez. They're going to be with us for 30 more minutes. And, you know, I got to say, some of the conversations, and I keep on plugging this interview because I think it was a really good one with Sean Cunningham, really leading in, guys, to some of the things I talked about in the 11 o'clock hour about, hey, there's a world where this thing works. But it's funny because I feel like we all agree that it's probably not going to be this specifically, but if you move one thing here and you move one thing there, I could see the vision. Is it going to work out? I don't know, but I could see the vision. But everyone basically agrees that this specific setup right now maybe isn't it, which remains to be seen. With that being said, you got a little Texas road trip, and then you head over to the Mile High City to take on the Denver Nuggets. I think we're going to learn a lot about the team and what they're going to be able to do. The Rockets are by far, I mean, the Warriors are playing pretty well, but this is by far, weirdly enough, for game 8 or 9 or 10 in this new era, this is the best team that the Kings have faced since trading De'Aaron Fox in a weird way.
And honestly, a team they've played pretty well this year.
Yeah.
With De'Aaron Fox both times, granted, but a team that they have matched up well against, and we'll see if that holds true. But yeah, I mean, they've played some pretty interesting. I mean, you have the Pelicans a couple times in there, Golden State, who's kind of around where the Kings are,
Mavericks.
Charlotte, Utah. I mean, I'm sorry, the Pelicans 3 times in there,
Yeah.
Portland, who's been surging. But now you look at the upcoming schedule, there's not really a quote unquote game off. I mean, Dallas has been kind of stumbling, and we'll see if AD is going to be available that game on Monday. San Antonio, no Wemby. Fox back in Sacramento will be the storyline. But after that, there's really not a game you can look at and say, until Chicago on the 20th, that you can say that's a game that the Kings, quote unquote, should win.
Yeah.
I mean, Golden State's going to be a battle. They're like we talked about. You want to stay out of that 10 seed spot. No 10 seeds ever made the playoffs before in the play-in format. You have the Clippers right now, who are kind of stumbling themselves. They're, I think, 2 games ahead of the Kings right now in the standings. That game's going to be huge. A game that was taken off ESPN, by the way, which I know the other game I think it was replaced by was what? It was
Bucks and someone.
Which that's a Bucks in Cleveland, I think.
Yeah.
Or I can't remember who it was.
It is,
but,
yeah.
But, you know, Phoenix right now, they're bottoming out. People think that they might be done. Is this the end of the Kevin Durant experiment in Phoenix? We'll see. The Kings have played well against them too. But, you know, you can't get too far ahead of yourselves. You have 2 games in Houston and Dallas. I mean, I think you're at a point right now where I think when Mike Brown was here, he looked at it at 5-game sample sizes for a schedule like this. And for as hard as things are, I'm looking at it in 3-game increments. Can you take 2 of 3? And, you know, that's a numbers game, right? Just take 2 of 3 and you're going to be fine. You know, at least split the next 2 at the very bare minimum. But, you know, there really isn't a stretch where you can look at it and say, okay, this is a nice, decent chunk of games until you get Indiana, Washington, Charlotte, and in the end of March, early April. There's really not a 4 or 5 game stretch that's remaining on the Kings schedule where you can look at and say it's favorable for them.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like you said, that we're going to learn a lot about this team. I think specifically, you know, if the offense can keep up against some solid defensive teams, and Denver is rolling right now. I haven't, I guess, seen their very most recent games, but last I had checked, they were really catching a rhythm. Michael Porter Jr. And Jamal Murray, the 2 guys that I feel like are kind of their X factors in a way, which is almost downplaying them. But, you know, it's like they're usually good, but when they were at their best is when that team went on and win a championship. And so, they're a good defensive team that's going to test Sacramento's offense. But the biggest question, like we've talked about, is their defense.
Yeah.
When it comes to the Kings. So, how are you going to slow down Jokic? And that's always been a question. To Frankie's point, they do pretty well. I thought Alex Len typically did pretty well, and Jonas is similar in that aspect. I feel like being able to be physical, and now you have 48 minutes of it between him and Domas. So I'm interested to see how it goes. I'm not the most optimistic, to be honest. But can the turnovers stay there? Is there going to be a single game where they shoot 53s? Because I don't know.
No,
I'm betting
there's
on
not.
That. I'm clearly hung up on that. But yeah, I mean, we're going to learn a lot about this team, and I'm not the most optimistic, which probably won't surprise people about how this may go. But it's definitely going to be an interesting and pretty telling stretch.
Yeah, I kind of wonder if the 53 things is, I don't really know how else to put it, but like kind of the team telling on itself that maybe they don't think that the overall talent might be good enough to suffice. Because I mean, when I hear a team saying that they're going to shoot that many threes, sometimes it can be like a team like the Boston Celtics, where clearly that's a huge advantage for them. But I kind of think of as it's March, and I just counted out, there's 17 games for the Kings in the 31 days of March, which is just going to be an absolute bloodbath against some of the best teams in the NBA. But I think of the tournament where that's the formula for these 16 seeds trying to beat these 1 seeds is take more threes, play the math game. And I do wonder, with this like really, really tight schedule coming up, how much of it is them kind of conceding, saying, look, we're not going to be able to implement some brand new offense with this brand new group of guys. Maybe we just kind of, if we just take it as simple as, our goal was when De'Aaron was here, 35, 43s already. Well, we think Zach LaVine on average can take 5 more threes per game than I don't know what it would be, but maybe they're just thinking that, hey, we are a better 3-point shooting team. We can't really implement much of an offense. Like the offense that we can do, I guess we might as well just try and play the numbers game and shoot as many threes as possible. But I don't think that's necessarily a winning formula. I think people have seen the good side of it with Boston, but also there's been some really terrible games where the Celtics just can't hit threes. And again, I don't think the Kings are necessarily as equipped to run that style of offense as a team like the Celtics. I would expect it to kind of look like, Alan, you remember the end of last season, how many of those games we would just come in and talk about the Kings are just chucking it up. They are just chucking it up. And most times they're not hitting a decent enough percentage, but they're still going to continue to shoot. I feel like it's going to be a lot of ugly basketball, but it's just going to be them chucking up threes and hoping that on that night they're going in, and it might work on some nights and they might get some really exciting wins. But I don't know. To me, it doesn't really seem super sustainable if we're talking them making it out of a playoff round or anything like that. And again, that's looking ahead of ourselves. But I don't know. To me, it's just a really interesting. It's just a really interesting strategy to try and implement that many threes.
And who is taking these threes?
That's what Zach can take 10 to 12 a game if
Keegan,
you're really
I feel
pushing
like
it.
Has been letting it fly.
No, Keegan has.
Keon,
but I will say Malik, like I just admitted on air this week that Malik probably my favorite player on the team. But you talk about being exposed as far as handling the basketball. His 3-point shot has. I don't know if it's been exposed.
That's really been great.
But it's also with him being asked to do more. So now you just want him chucking. When it was Malik as a kind of a relief pitcher closer, outstanding. But Malik with all these high volume numbers has not been it. So I don't even know. They took against the porous Utah Jazz, they took 36. So I don't know. And they played the whole game. Don't remind my friend about that. So I don't know where you're finding 53 pointers. And to your point, Chris, it's interesting because when everything happened, I'm not going to say the name, but when the coaching change happened, what did we hear? I thought it sounded like they were doing algebra and chemistry in the former regime, because it was very simple, read and react, da-da-da-da-da. Now, obviously, you've made some changes here, but when you don't have a structure, to your point, Chris, I do wonder, you've swung so far to just, we're out here just hooping. And now you don't have time to swing it back into, and they're adding more DHOs, and Doug Christie said, kind of not as a shot, but we're not just going to do DHOs to do DHOs. We're not, because when he first took the job, we're not just going to do actions to run actions, which I agree with, but y'all ain't really been doing anything. and you add in Zach LaVine, there's nothing to lean back on. And I do wonder, and I hope that it is Doug at the end of the season, but I do wonder if it's catching up with them as they don't really have something to rest their hat on besides ring around the rosy with Domantas Sabonis. Before we get to a break, guys, give me they're already 1-0, so give me your records on this 4-game stretch.
Lay out the rest of the games for me if you don't mind.
So
Houston, Dallas, Denver.
Right, on the road, Houston, Dallas, Denver. No back-to-backs, I don't believe.
No. Saturday,
There's
Monday,
not.
Wednesday.
So are we including the Utah game in
That's
our
right.
Okay.
Yeah, that is correct.
I'll be the pessimist. I'll say 1-3.
Really?
I told Kyle yesterday I was afraid of it, but I'm not. I can't do it. I'm not going to do
2-2 is as high as I would go, to be honest.
I mean, it doesn't seem like AD is going to be. They said on the 20th, 2 weeks to be reevaluated. I think the AD is going to be out on Monday. And
it's the Kessler Edwards revenge game, though.
You see Nick Stauskas going at Kessler Edwards?
Dude, that was crazy. That was crazy.
Like, I don't know how he can stand on anything saying that about a professional NBA player. That's ridiculous. But I'm going to go 2-2.
Okay.
I think probably 1-3. 2-2 is a possibility. I was just looking at that Dallas game just to see kind of, where the Kings were at in terms of, the trades and everything. And they had the group that they have right now. And it took double overtime and 42 points for DeMar from DeMar for them to get that win. I'm not saying it can't be done, but it just kind of feels like to me that this is a 1-3 trip and they got their one win. And if they can get if they finish the trip 2-2, I really do think that they should feel good about it. And just again, try and stack as many wins as possible because there's just nothing easy the rest of the way. And I think Dave tweeted it this morning, and I do agree. Like, I think the Kings are probably going to be favored in maybe 4 games the rest of this season. Like they just have an absolute bloodbath, and then just sprinkled in a game against Chicago, sprinkle in a game against Portland, one at Washington, one at Charlotte. Besides that, I mean, you're playing all the best teams in the league.
And I will say, like, Houston has been sputtering a little bit, but
They
they're
just
a
kinda
very
got
like
right.
sporadic.
It's
team,
also one of those where the
know?
Kings have already had their number. Like
Yes.
something's got to balance out.
They're
right?
due to
Yeah,
win.
they're
Same-
literally
Same with
due.
like Boston. Like Boston coming and go. I'm very worried. They always seem to like destroy the Kings in Sacramento. But winning in Boston without Fox that one night is like something's gonna happen.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Well,
They have
since
a long homestand.
since no one here is standing on business,
Oh,
that's what we're calling it.
there's only one. And that
It sounds
is
like
me.
your friend's about
I'm
to make
saying
some mistakes.
0-4.
Your friend's
I
gonna
know
make
they
some
got the win.
mistakes.
Look, man, they got the Mavericks. They just have the Mavericks. AD's not coming back, and Kyrie's been a heck of a ball player, and he's earned my respect tenfold. But the Kings will take care of the Mavericks, and they will beat either the Rockets or the Nuggets. That's what it is.
They're not winning that game in Denver, man.
Great time to remind you, Jokic had literally the greatest stat line in NBA history.
Yeah,
the
so
last
that means
time they
there's
played.
only one way to go.
And he made
that's
what, like
down.
it made a 60-footer that game too. I
Look,
think.
Christian Brown, Christian Brown and Julian Strother, give me an absolute break. Get Keon on Jamal Murray. You double Jokic. The Lakers showed us the way to do it. All right, they might lose they got the Mavericks. You know what? Screw it. It's some combination.
4-0.
I don't care.
4-0.
No, I don't care. It might not be the Mavericks, but these brothers are going 3-1. You know why, guys? Because they have to.
What do you mean? They're pretty locked into the 10 seed.
They kind of have to, and because the Knicks and the Clippers. Oh, don't get me started. One more segment. Let's talk about the future of the Sacramento Kings, and if this thing doesn't go in the direction that I think, which I think it'll go in a great direction, are the guys into retool or rebuild? Allen Stiles, Sacktown Sports.
On the move? Got somewhere to be?
Take Sacramento Kings basketball with you. The Sacktown Sports app will let you stay connected to your passion. Never miss a moment of Sacramento Kings basketball with the Sacktown Sports app.
Joe Montana here. In my football days, I knew the importance of a strong defense. Now I'm sharing how you can help defend your health against pneumococcal pneumonia and invasive pneumococcal disease. Are you 50 or older like me? The CDC now recommends vaccination against pneumococcal disease. Even if you're healthy, your age puts you at increased risk and over 6 times greater risk of hospitalization with pneumococcal pneumonia than adults under 50. Schedule your appointment today at vaxassist.com.
Sponsored by Pfizer.
Jackson Hewitt wants you to save money on tax prep. We're saving money by having our intern rap in this commercial.
Don't stress, Jackson Hewitt's got expert tax prep $149 or less. Yo, some tax guys lie about price. They got hidden fees, that ain't nice. Ain't nice. Don't ignore MC Kevin's rhyme, because this deal's for a limited time. $149
For tax prep that's $149 or less. Hurry into Jackson Hewitt today.
No cap.
Limited time offer for new clients on federal returns. Participating locations only. Terms at jacksonhewitt.com/149.
Hey, it's Carmichael Dave for my good friends over at Jiffy Lube, and they want to show some customer love this month with their February oil change deals you can find online today. Visit jiffylube.com and find a service center near you to see these sweetheart deals. Get it? During the month of February. Here's what you do. Drive into savings at jiffylube.com today and let yourself save in the month of February. Tell them Carmichael Dave sent you.
Sherry, what have you done to your hair?
What do you mean? Does it not look good?
It doesn't look good. It looks freaking amazing. I can't believe how thick and healthy it looks. Oh, I must know your secret.
No secret. It's hair volume from New Nordic.
Hair volume, huh? Well, it certainly lives up to its name. Your hair has never looked so thick. It is gorgeous.
I was so tired of having thin and brittle hair. Ugh, and the shedding. So I figured I'd give hair volume a try. Needless to say, I'm thrilled with the results. Hey, where are you going?
I'm going to pick up some hair volume right now. My reunion's next month and I want my hair to look as good as yours.
Hair Volume is the best-selling hair tablet in the world and one of many award-winning natural health products from New Nordic, the #1 supplier of dietary supplements in Scandinavia. Purchase at newnordicusa.com or your local CVS. Available as a tablet or delicious gummy. Help your hair look full, voluminous, and beautiful again at newnordicusa.com or CVS.
Golf to Go is brought to you by the Hagen Oaks Golf Super Shop. Here's Frank LaRosa.
You're faced with a long shot in the heavy rough. Now what? Jessica Marksberry writes in Golf Magazine that while hybrids have made these shots a bit easier to deal with, lengthy shots from heavy rough are still a significant challenge. Top 100 teacher Tina Toombs says the first thing you need is loft and a specific mindset over the ball. You need to hold onto the club firmer with your left hand to prevent the club from grabbing the grass. You can elect to play in the back of your stance or play it forward. Playing it forward makes the swing a bit steeper so it can stay open more and the ball comes out of the rough better. She says a 7-wood makes it easier than a hybrid for longer shots. The ball comes out low, but rolls a long way because of topspin. And if all else fails, she says bailing out is an option too, and there's no shame in taking your medicine to avoid compounding your initial error. If you're really not sure, take your 9-iron and get it out. Don't risk topping it and leaving it in the rough. Good luck out there. That's your Golf to Go. I'm Frank LaRosa.
Don't miss your chance to win tickets to the Sacramento Boat Show and Off-Road Expo March 6th through the 9th at Cal Expo, the largest outdoor recreation show in the market. Just go to SactownSports.com now for your chance to win.
Allen Stiles. Watch the show on youtube.com/SactownSports1140.
Or listen on the Sacktown Sports app.
It is time for our Thunder Showdown. Win a pair of tickets to Thunder Showdown Part 2. I was there the first time. It was incredible. And then my friend lost some money on roulette. So maybe that'll happen again. It all goes down March 8th. High voltage live boxing action returns to the venue with Thunder Showdown 2. 8 big fights on the bill feature top-level veterans and up-and-coming new names, and we've got your chance to experience a night of exhilarating boxing action. Brendan, we're looking for caller number
4.
Caller number 4 to score that pair of tickets and to blow out my ears for Showdown Part 2, the Thunder Showdown Part 2 at the venue on March 8th. Maybe I will be in the building. 916-339-1140, 916-339-1140, 916-339-1140. If you want to go to the Thunder Showdown Part 2 at the venue at Thunder Valley and see someone get knocked the bleep out. It is pretty fun. The sweat flying off them, and they on the ground too.
Not like a naval battle.
I feel like I'm in battleships or whatever it is. Caller number 4. All right, guys, we have looked at the present for the Kings. Now let's look at the future. What camp would you be in at the end of the season? Let's assume they. I think it'll be pretty similar if they. And let's start here. Do you think that how the Kings view this season changes if they make the playoffs and get just run out of the playoffs, or if they miss the playoffs? Would how they move forward be different? Because obviously if they go on a deep run, it would be different. But let's say they get in 1-2 barbecue and they're out.
Yeah. Am I? You're
I'm looking
you're
at you.
Great eye contact with me throughout this whole thing.
I think the package they got back for De'Aaron Fox kind of makes it very clear that this isn't something that they plan on blowing up anytime soon.
Okay.
Otherwise, they would have gotten back, I think, they have a couple first-round picks, but they didn't get any young players, young assets they can kind of build around and kind of throw out there. They have Devin Carter. They can, give more minutes next year. They have Keegan Murray, who's still developing on a rookie scale contract. But the fact that they didn't get any other players back really in that Fox deal, except for Zach LaVine, who has one more year on his contract, which kind of makes me think that this is a 1.5 year experiment. You have Zach LaVine under contract next year. DeMar DeRozan, whether or not they choose to keep him or he wants to get out this upcoming offseason remains to be seen. But you have Sabonis, you have DeRozan, you have LaVine, Devin Carter, a full offseason to develop. Can he be a point guard or backup point guard for this group? They have high hopes for him. I think that the possibility of blowing it up to me just seems low. I just think that they've hitched their wagon to this group. And I think moving off any of those guys, the big money guys like DeRozan, LaVine, or Sabonis, will probably cost parting with the draft capital that you got in the Fox trade to begin with. So it's interesting, kind of stuck in the middle, in my opinion, as far as the ceiling on this roster. And that's just my opinion. I think that, this roster with De'Aaron Fox on it, to me, had a higher ceiling because, of how young he is and the fact that, his play style. But if Zach LaVine can be what we've seen the last couple of games, if he can be prime Zach LaVine, who he'll be entering his age 30 season next year. He'll be 30 in a couple of weeks, actually. Happy early birthday. If you can get the 25 point per game Zach LaVine, 40% plus some 3-point shooting, yeah, maybe there's a model of this team that can work out. And if you can go find one or two more impact defenders, those are two big ifs for a team that struggled on defense really since this whole Beam team era began. But I don't really see how you can look at it and say, okay, the Kings, there's 24 games left. Let's say they win 9 of them and they completely bottom out. They fall out of a 10 seed by some chance.
Right.
I don't know if that means you have to hit the ripcord and try to move Sabonis, try to move DeMar. Like, I don't know if you even really could if you wanted to, without, again, parting with most of your draft capital to offload a $40 million salary.
I would like to say that I don't believe that they have a plan. I don't think they've had
also a good point.
I don't think they've had a plan since they, I know you don't want to say it, but I don't think they've had a plan since they fired Mike Brown. I think that was a very impulse decision. I think everything that came since then definitely tells me that they didn't think about the ramifications of that decision before making it. And I feel like right now, and by the time we enter the offseason, I feel like they're just in an evaluation period for everything. I think that they're going to evaluate what they feel about Doug Christie's future. I think they're going to really take a look at the end of the season as to what they want to do with LaVine, what they want to do with DeRozan. I don't think they honestly know right now. I think this was all this entire roster right now was just trying to salvage any sort of success for this year, and they felt like they got the best players that were possibly available for them. Jonas Valanciunas was on the market all year long. I think he's probably the best center that was available in the trade market. Zach LaVine, we know how long he's been available, but he's still a high level player. He was probably the best easily available player that they could have gotten at the deadline. I just feel like right now they're in a spot where they're going to see how the season ends and kind of take live evaluations. Like, I don't think anything's guaranteed. I still think we're going to, the same way it took a while for us to see the fallout of Mike Brown. I think it's going to take a while to see the fallout of what happens with De'Aaron gone. Like, we know De'Aaron had some really good relationships within that building and with some players specifically. Like, I wonder, Keegan Murray, like he's got his extension coming up. Does he want to continue his career in Sacramento? Malik Monk just signed his contract this offseason, and, we won't go into all of it, but De'Aaron Fox being here was allegedly a part of it. Like, does he want to stay moving forward? Domantas Sabonis, he was like, hey, I thought we were going to be stable. Y'all just traded the best player. Do I want to continue in this? I feel like from both parties, the players and the front office, everybody's got to evaluate whether they want to continue in this situation.
Yeah, I think that's well put. You don't know what decisions that higher ups are going to make when it comes to who's going to stick around in this front office.
I didn't even consider the front office sticking around either.
Yeah, I think it's a complicated sort of formula. And to your point with the Mike Brown thing, I think that that and the De'Aaron thing go hand in hand, obviously, right? Whatever plan you had coming into the year, which already is questionable because clearly you were unsure about keeping Mike Brown in the first place with how those negotiations went. And then you hesitantly commit to that and then decide to make the decision to move on from him. And you should know, based on what De'Aaron had told you, that was going to lead to the next thing. But when you have to trade your leading scorer midseason, your plan goes out the window, unfortunately. And so now you have to figure out the new thing. But in that moment, it felt like, okay, we just have to optimize this situation. And not that they weren't thinking into the future, but you're limited in a way because it's like, it almost felt like we have to do it now. Because the reality, they didn't have to do it right now.
Right.
As much as everybody wants to say like, oh, De'Aaron controlled the market and everything, that's very true. Don't get me wrong. But also, they didn't have to do it right now.
Yeah.
And sure, you can say, how would De'Aaron have played throughout the rest of the year and blah, blah, blah. But this is the direction that they chose to go in. And you signed up for a very tumultuous next part of this year. And like we were talking about earlier, you don't want to know what this fit is going to look like. And all the potential turnover that Chris just laid out that could happen this offseason makes it even more complicated to try to figure out.
Yeah. And just to the note, not to belabor the point, but just to the note that you said about how De'Aaron could have played. Well, it's just because he was interested in one team. If he went out there and dogged it, who's to say the Spurs would say we want that, right? So I do think there would have been a level of if I want to get what I want, I have to play pretty darn well. Or there is a Trae Young out there that putting up crazy numbers that the Spurs can say, we want to go with this dude. What is Fox doing out here? So
Dame only wanted to go to one team and he did not go there.
Right. So we'll never know. But the idea of retooling or rebuilding is kind of interesting. As we had Chris Biederman on the show last week, and he said there is definitely a chance that this thing gets blown up. Then talking to Sean Cunningham yesterday, it was more in line with what you guys are saying, but there is a chance that this thing does survive. I think ultimately the larger point is hey, I'm watching Bachelor right now. Hey, can we get there? Right? Can we get where we think we could get and make this thing worthwhile? And because of that, nobody knows what the future holds quite yet. And that's kind of what Sean was saying. Great stuff, guys. As always, be sure to follow all three of them, Brendan Nunez, Chris Watkins, Frankie Cardicelli on social media. Check out all their work on SacktownSports.com. And we will talk to them again next week. On the other side, let's do some pocket watching. Who is playing tonight and where the Kings could end up based on some wins and losses. Allen Stiles, Sacktown Sports.
This Saturday, Kings and Rockets. Game night with Scott Marsh and the high flyer Henry Turner starts at 3:30. Tip-off at 5.
The Kings play here on Sacktown Sports.
Sacktown Sports, 1140.
Still getting around to that fix on your car? You got this. On eBay, you'll find millions of parts guaranteed to fit. Doesn't matter if it's a major engine repair or your first time swapping your windshield wipers. eBay has that part you need, ready to click perfectly into place for changes big and small. Loud or quiet, find all the parts you need at prices you'll love, guaranteed to fit every time. But you already know that. eBay, things, people, love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Sacktown Sports is bringing you the biggest live events in town. Whether you're rocking out or dancing the night away, check out the Sacktown Sports live events calendar. Crank it up with Steel Panther at Ace of Spades on March 15th. Then catch rising country star Alexandra Kay the next night, March 16th, also at Ace of Spades. On March 22nd, experience the magic of the Ronstadt Review featuring Jessenia at the Crest Theater. Then get ready for an epic night. Papa Roach and Rise Against take over Golden One Center March 29th, while comedy legends Jay Leno and Arsenio Hall bring the laughs to Hard Rock Live Sacramento on that same night. And for country fans, Lee Brice and Walker Hayes hit Ironstone Amphitheater on June 21st, and Parker McCullum takes the stage August 16th at the Ironstone Amphitheater up in Murphys, California. Don't miss out. Find more info and score your chance to win tickets at SacktownSports.com. The Sacktown Sports Live Events Calendar. Your ticket to the best seat in the house.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm. An important message about your timeshare from Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group.
If you receive an unsolicited phone call or mail piece to discuss selling, renting, or especially canceling your timeshare, don't fall for it. Contact your timeshare resort or Wesley Financial Group for assistance, and I'll send you our timeshare exit information kit free with the straight facts about timeshare cancellation.
Call 800-292-7788. 800-292-7788.
With Progressive's Name Your Price tool, you get coverage options based on how much you want to pay for car insurance. And then you decide how to spend the rest of your money because you're in charge. Today, you're going to pay down your credit card bill. But you decide when you'll pay it. Before the due date, so those interest charges don't get you. But you decide if you pay it in full. But you definitely should, because again, interest charges. With Progressive's Name Your Price tool, we'll help you find coverage at a fair price. And then you're in charge. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Not available in all states. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Hurry in and save big during Honda's President's Day sales event at Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop.
Hurry in and save on our best selection of new Hondas. Each is priced to sell now. Folsom Lake Honda is your one-stop Honda shop for great pricing on a giant selection of new CRVs, HRVs, Civics, and Accords with low finance and lease options. Plus, get an instant cash offer for your trade. Get to Folsom Lake Honda or go to FolsomLakeHonda.com.
Folsom Lake Honda, yeah, your one-stop Honda shop.
Hey, it's Carmichael Dave for my good friends at American Energy. It's cold, and American Energy wants you to stay warm and make sure your system's operating safely. Here's the deal. A $49 tune-up inspection, which is regularly $119. That's a full safety and duct inspection. But guess what? If your system's over 10 years old, the tune-up is on them. That's right. It's free. Give them a call right now. $50 off your first recommended repair. And if you need a new furnace, half off the price of a new unit. Oh, by the way, breaking news. They're hiring right now. Here's the deal. They'll train you. Full benefits, generous incentive-based pay. Just call today for more details at 916-520-9990. That's 916-520-9990. Not only great deals from American Energy, but possibly a new career for you. Check them out at theaeway.com for an instant quote and tell them Carmichael Dave sent you.
Call 916-520-9990 now.
Hi, this is Greg Papa. Disasters hit every day. If your home, business, or building has suffered from any disaster, SunPoint Public Adjusters can help. SunPoint prepares, presents, and negotiates your claim with the insurance company, working only for you, making sure you get everything you're entitled to and letting their focus be on what's most important, your family or your business. Call SunPoint today at 888-247-7865 or contact us at sunpoint.us. SunPoint Public Adjusters, the gold standard in public adjusting.
License number 2N14884.
KHTK HD1 Sacramento, KYMX HD3 Sacramento.
From the Power Business Technology Toshiba Studios, Sacktown Sports 1140. You're home for Kings talk and so much more.
Live and local.
Allen Stiles on Sacktown Sports.
From someone by Brendan. See ya. From someone that I reference, and again, thanks to the Sacktown Sports Kings insiders and our great editors, Brendan Nunez, Frankie Cardicelli, and Chris Watkins. From someone that I have fun going back and forth with on social media. We don't tend to agree with each other quite often. Jack Dan, KF, he always has great stats. And he brought this up as well, as some people were, saying, hey, I'm not worried about Sabonis. I really appreciate Chris Watkins' take on it, as it's something to monitor, whereas Brendan and Frankie just kind of chalked it up to the transition. This is what Jack had to say in Sabonis' last games. 16.5 points, 14.3 rebounds, 5.1 assists on 59.6 true shooting and 27.3 on 3-point. That's a minus 1.9 plus or minus. And yeah, he is essentially saying that post Fox Sabonis is worth monitoring. So we will continue to monitor it. I think that he will be fine. But again, we're just monitoring. We're just asking questions and we're just monitoring. I want to get to some of the texts that dropped in during the round table. 916, nicely done by the 916, trying to finesse some tickets out of the guys. They say, so what are you guys saying, that the Kings guaranteed won't go to Denver and beat the Nuggets, which I say they will, because the Lakers just went in there and beat the heck out of them. Was that in Denver? That was in Denver. Was it? Why did I think it was in Los Angeles?
Yeah, it was in Denver.
Yeah, it was in Denver. Are you willing to guarantee that and put up some Sacramento Kings tickets on it if you're so confident? Because I say they go to Denver and beat them this time. That's from the 916. Look, I would say, number one, the Lakers have LeBron James and Luka Doncic, right? And number two, I'm not saying that I'm not going to speak for the guys. I'm not saying it's not possible. We're just looking at Frankie essentially did not feel great about it, but I don't think anybody can feel great about it. But I appreciate the other side of it to say, hey, screw it. Why not the Kings? You know, they almost did take care of them. Obviously, you had De'Aaron at that time, and wasn't Keegan Murray missing in that first game where you almost beat them, and Jamal Murray made that shot towards the end. So that game was close. It wasn't close, then it was, and then the Nuggets kind of did their thing, and then the second game, you got beat down, right? And that was the weird Dougie McBuckets at the end of the game. He made 5-6 3-pointers and made it look respectable. So anything can happen. I do think that they will get 2 more wins. I do believe that. I don't know that Denver game will be the win that they get, but I feel pretty good against the Rockets, and I feel pretty good against the Mavericks. And I feel pretty good because I have to feel pretty good because it's a numbers game and a 3-1 right here as the team is starting to figure things out. The one thing about playing bad teams is you can look at this a couple ways. You can say, hey, they've played some bad teams and now they're going to be shell-shocked playing a competent organization and a competent roster. That's one way to look at it. The other way to look at it is that rosters matter. And when you look at they're not a young team, but they are young in their time together. You know, you say this about young talent all the time. They don't know the stage that they're on, right? Let's take it to when you were a kid. Now, some people have always been afraid of heights, but some people haven't. Later in life, when you realize that you can die, right? Later in life, when you realize that bad things can happen, you look at things certain ways. When you're young, I want to go on that roller coaster. That looks like fun. Then you get a bit older and you think, whoa, if something goes wrong with that, I'm in a bad spot. So now I'm kind of afraid to do it. The Kings might be in that spot right now where they're like the young kid, that they're not really afraid to fail because they're going to go into all 3 of these, besides the Mavericks, but you're going to go into all 3 of these games, or 2 of those games with the Rockets, they have expectations now. The Mavericks, not so much, but kind of in a weird way because you traded off Luka, even though none of your centers are playing. And then you go face the Nuggets, who we know all 3 of those teams are looking at the Kings as get-right games, or they are looking at the Kings as wins. So that is something where I think Doug Christie can be very dangerous, and he can use the motivational speaking that he has and kind of finesse that in a way that can really help the team. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but again, as we continue this optimistic Allen outlook on a Thursday, that is something that I think a lot of people might not realize or think about as much. Does it happen? Look, if it happened more often, then Vegas wouldn't be Vegas. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I'm saying the talent is there, and if something eventually clicks, you never know what could happen.
Yeah, I don't necessarily want to try and get in the head of what they're thinking at this point, but it is funny to think of it that way. It's like, yeah, nothing bad can happen to us. Who cares? You know, you're playing with...
They're kind of playing with house money.
You're playing with house money depending on the expectation, right?
Yeah.
If the expectation is Monty's going to come back next year and Doug's going to come back no matter what, and you're given a grace period for the turbulence of this season, then yeah, you're fine. But I don't know if that's necessarily the expectation that the organization has. Like Sean Cunningham talked about yesterday, just ride it out because these things change really quickly.
But here's the thing. I'm saying that in a way of not that, oh, they don't care, but I'm saying it in a way of the pressure. There was a lot of pressure last season coming off the Beam Team season, and it's hard, right? I've always said exceeding expectations is easier than meeting them. I've always said that. So for the guys actually playing, they might be playing with house money. Monty McNair isn't playing with house money because he's the one who cobbled this together, but the Kings, to a certain degree, playing with house money. So the expectations that they dealt with last season is coming off Beam Team, where, are they going to continue to move in that direction? They're not dealing with that this year.
Yeah.
The same way.
Monty McNair is trying to sell a vision right now. Like, his work is done. There's nothing more they can do roster-wise to this team. He's scouting people. He's doing whatever else. Like, for this team, his work is done. For them, it's a short-term thing because this is the NBA, right?
Right.
You're never. I mean, this team certainly isn't going to be sold even 40 more games together after this season. They got this 20 games to work through it and figure it out together. And like Chris Watkins was talking about, they haven't been given many gifts when you talk about just the gauntlet of not just great teams, but great defensive teams that they're going to have to play over the next stretch of 10 games.
Right. And again, look, I sound like De'Aaron here, but NBA contracts are guaranteed. If they stink, it's Monty's job to figure out how to move them or something like that. But these guys are playing for pride, and they're playing for the fact that they're going to go out there. And like I said, all three of these teams that they're facing, Mavericks included, are saying we need to beat the Kings. So if you're Doug Christie, and what we know of Doug Christie, he can manipulate that, and not even manipulate it, but he can package that into guys, we're out here being disrespected. Right? That doesn't mean that they're as good as the Nuggets. And how far that gets them, I don't know. But what I do know is that at least there's something to hang their hat on, where last season it was, okay, we have some expectations, but nobody expects you to win it. And it's the same exact team, and we don't really know who we are. This team knows, to your point, Kyle, we have a certain number of games. Some of us, going back to what Chris Watkins said with all the three-pointers, kind of like March Madness. Hey, we got some seniors in here. This team
is a literal 16 seed right now.
Yeah, this team, when it ends, some of you are going to graduate. Some of you are going to be gone. So let's make some memories. Now, that team could go out and lose in the play-in March Madness game, or that team can be a Cinderella story. We don't know. The good thing is this team is more talented, I think, than their current seed. Does it make more sense than their current seed? And do they have enough time to make it make sense? I do not know. But they do have more talent than what their seed currently is. And they're not, you look at the Mavericks and dealing with you got to get Anthony Davis back in the fold. You have to get Kyrie and Anthony Davis on the same page. And I still don't know how good they are. If everybody thought that the Mavericks are going to be some juggernaut with Anthony Davis, then they wouldn't have been protesting the way that they were protesting. Now, are they better than the Kings with Anthony Davis? There's an argument for that, but I don't actually know. So even when they get Anthony Davis back, so you go on a little mini run here, and you take care of business against the Rockets, who are starting to implode a little bit, and you've had the Rockets number, or some version of you surprise some. You need, in my opinion, that Mavericks game is just the game that you need. But I truly believe that the Kings can go 3-1 because there's more to come. I like my Marvel there are more villains to come that are bigger and badder than this stretch. So you kind of need this. You kind of need this. On the other side, we'll talk about that pocket watching, who is in action tonight, and a little bit of that sports gambling crazy story and how the NCAA is going to get this thing under control. Also, don't forget, we got media beef. Allen Stiles, Sacktown Sports.
This Saturday, Kings and Rockets. Game night with Scott Marsh and the high flyer Henry Turner starts at 3:30. Tip-off at 5.
The Kings play here on Sacktown Sports.
Sacktown Sports, 1140.
At Stockton Honda, we know how to honor a great deal. Like right now, during our President's Day sales event, you can find star-spangled savings on some of our best models. Why not stop in today and see for yourself?
Save thousands with low APR financing and great lease rates on over 500 new Hondas at Stockton Honda.
Anytime, anywhere, it's all here. StocktonHonda.com.
We rely heavily on our HVAC systems during the cold valley winters and hot valley summers. That's why there are so many HVAC companies out there. So when you need a new system or a tune-up, where do you turn? I turned to Lee's Air Plumbing and Heating. Once our heater checked out, we checked in at leesair.com. The entire experience exceeded our high expectations. You want prompt service from people who know what they're doing, can save you money, and will treat you right? For your HVAC needs, Lee's Air Plumbing and Heating on the web at leesair.com. Ask about their $99 HVAC tune-up service, license number 635355.
Allen Stiles. Watch the show on youtube.com/Sacktown Sports 1140.
Or listen on the Sacktown Sports app.
Congrats to our winner. The Thunder Showdown tickets, you'll have one more chance tomorrow to win those tickets. I still haven't asked my wife if I can go yet. But I will. I definitely will. You know, I don't know if this is connected at all, but we joked about Paul George putting down the mic. He said he was going to take a break so the 12 seed 76ers could focus on winning a championship. And he scored 25 points last night, which was not a huge deal. It was his first 20-point game this month. So I'm not going to go ahead and say, you know, the get off my lawners, the OGs, kind of similar to myself, where it's a little much. And I saw Kendrick Perkins actually say the same thing about, it's funny because they won, but about Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart, that they need to put down the mics and focus. I can't remember. I think Draymond might have continued to do it during the postseason, but I think even Draymond might have taken a break. But you got to think these player podcasts will come to a halt in the postseason, right?
I think they did last year.
I think they do. I think they typically do.
I don't remember on Paul George, but also the Clippers.
Well, maybe not Paul George.
The Clippers haven't had a deep playoff run the last couple of years. I will say, though, and I saw this watching Cowherd's show, Steph Noe on Twitter broke down the numbers on Paul George's stats the day after there's a podcast drop and the day before there's a podcast drop. And Paul George actually plays better when he drops a podcast versus when he doesn't. So this season, directly following a podcast, he's averaging 17 points, 4.6 rebounds, 4.8 assists, 43% from the field. And this is the big one. He's shooting 43% from three when he drops a podcast versus 32% from three when he doesn't drop a podcast. His points per game are higher. His game score, which is a nerd stat, is higher. So everything except rebounds, Paul George is actually better when he drops a podcast versus when he doesn't drop a podcast.
Well, in this situation, I mean, I guess it's just the averages, but he had a good game last time. There might be some of that where it's, let me focus up here because everyone is doing the podcast thing. So I just found that interesting. I saw that note. As we get into who is in action tonight, kind of a big day for the Kings, even though they're not playing. Warriors at Orlando Magic, Mavericks hosting the Hornets, and the Timberwolves at the Lakers, and last but not least, the Pelicans at the Suns. So if the Pelicans beat the Suns, I mean, that is really putting the Suns, again, going, and I know March is going to be crazy, but the Suns are the only team that consistently have a tougher schedule than the Kings. When we fire up the strength of schedule, they're always sitting at number one. So they're not done. Going back to our do you bury this team yet? Going back to that segment, I'm not burying the Suns yet, but it's pretty darn close. We're maybe a couple weeks away. You got to see what the Kings do, to be completely honest with you. As far as the Warriors at the Magic is so interesting. I believe it might have been Evan Sidery just essentially note how bad the KCP signing was. Obviously, he's a dog on defense, but that brother, very similar to Jordan Clarkson, just he forgot how to shoot, but different than Jordan Clarkson for the whole season. So exactly what the Magic needed out of KCP. They just haven't gotten it. So it's been really rough for them. I mean, Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner are so dang good, but and I've watched the Warriors against the Magic. Draymond, they'll put Draymond on Paolo and have Paolo in handcuffs. So I feel pretty good about the Warriors, unfortunately, tonight, even though it's in Orlando. The Magic just they cannot score the basketball. So, and if you're starting to depend on Paolo Banchero from the three-point line, good luck. So I don't like the Warriors tonight, and in the way that I do like them to win this game. The Mavericks host the Hornets, which is, I don't know if LaMelo's playing or not. I don't really care. This is the one team where the Mavericks can say, finally, a team more injured than us. So the Mavericks, they're licking their chops. Kyrie is going to go crazy, or he's not going to go crazy because he's not going to play the fourth quarter.
I saw Lou Williams on that FanDuel show, which I don't care if it has a real name. It's just that FanDuel show. That FanDuel show, he's like, we should be questioning LaMelo Ball's heart now. I'm like, what is he supposed to do with this team? Like, I get that they've lost by an average of 39 points in their last 3 games, which is a truly amazing sentence to say. I think Whitey was telling me or said on the air that the 2-game stretch of losing by 34 to Portland and losing by 42 to the Kings was like the largest 2-game margin of defeat in NBA history. So, like, yes, the Mavericks are going to win tonight. They get the free win, just like the Warriors got the free win, just like the Kings got the free win. But I just look at it, I'm like, I don't know what LaMelo is supposed to do. I mean, even if he were that guy, quote unquote, that guy or whatever, the Hornets without him are just like one of the worst teams in NBA history. Yeah. So I even though they're really bad and LaMelo Ball is putting up an empty calorie season, I don't feel like it's actually LaMelo Ball's fault.
Let's get to the Timberwolves. Now, this is the big one. And yeah, I've been rooting for the Lakers for a while now, just based on where they're at. And I don't believe that even before the Lakers got Luka, I just didn't really see them dropping past the 6th seed. So I decided, you know what, just beat the teams that the Kings need you to beat. So Timberwolves versus Lakers tonight. And again, that's a situation where it's in LA. I'm really excited to see Anthony Edwards versus Luka. But, they also have LeBron. Lakers are absolutely rolling right now. I feel fairly confident saying we're going to end the night and the Warriors are going to maintain pace. Somebody on the Sack chat is saying the Magic will win. I sure hope so. The Warriors will maintain pace. The Mavericks will maintain pace. I truly don't know about the Suns and the Pelicans. And the Timberwolves will drop another game.
Here's a really weird note from that game that you just mentioned. So the money line for Timberwolves Lakers is exactly the same. They're both minus 110. So the money line is saying it's a pick 'em. The point spread is like 7 for the Lakers. So I don't know what to do with that, but that one's going to be really, really interesting to watch because if you're looking, you know how we talked about with the Kings, how they just couldn't do anything against Julius Randle?
Yeah.
If you're looking for a team that can't do anything against the Timberwolves offense, it's this Laker team. Just no answers for what the things that the Lakers are bad at on defense, Minnesota is good at on offense. So I would give Minnesota a puncher's chance tonight because you're going to put Alex Len against Rudy Gobert for 30 minutes?
Yeah. So the issue with the Timberwolves has been the same issue. It's just a lot of, and they just signed someone. It was Bones Highland.
Yeah.
So I don't know if Bones Highland will be up with them. It's a 2-way deal, but they just don't have enough offense. It's just honestly Anthony Edwards. And funny enough, this guy is really the similarities between him and Malik Monk just continue to continue. And for Naz Reid, what a crazy season for Naz Reid, where he was 6th man of the year. You move on from Karl Anthony Towns. They say, oh, well, we got Julius Randle. He's still our guy. Julius Randle can't really stay healthy this season. 20 hours ago, I just read still sidelined. So now Naz Reid is your number 2 option, right? Which was not the case going in to the offseason for a team that did pretty well and made it pretty deep in the playoffs. So there's just not enough between Nikhil and Dante DiVincenzo. He's just been injured. Both of your trade pieces from the Karl Anthony Towns trade have not played in what feels like a month in one of the most important stretches in the season. So I think that the Timberwolves will drop another game, and we'll see how everything looks. I think the Warriors are the issue, but hopefully Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner can cook something up and they can find a way. There was no Jalen Suggs when the Warriors played the Magic last time. I got to check on what's going on with Suggs. He's been in street clothes.
He is out tonight.
And there will be no Jalen Suggs tonight either, but hopefully the Magic can find a way to win this game out there in Disney World. Okay, on the other side, we got media beef. We got some sports gambling issues to discuss. Well, what are these kids doing? Is the NIL not enough? Go get a real deal. Allen Stiles, Sacktown Sports.
This Saturday, Kings and Rockets. Game night with Scott Marsh and the high flyer Henry Turner starts at 3:30. Tip-off at 5.
The Kings play here on Sacktown Sports.
Sacktown Sports, 1140.
Sacramento weather is brought to you by Northwest Exteriors.
I'm Tamara Berg in the KCRA 3 Weather Center. For your Thursday, we'll see clouds today, but still plenty warm. In fact, temperatures will warm into the mid-70s for this afternoon under partly sunny skies. Overnight lows will drop back into the lower 40s. Get the latest forecast on the KCRA 3 News and the KCRA 3 app.
Northwest Exteriors wants to keep you cool all season long. Trusted in Sacramento for heating and cooling systems. Book your tune-up today as part of our 30th anniversary special. Call 888-TRUST-NW or visit trustnorthwest.com.
Simply the best. Trust Northwest.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare cancellation guide absolutely free.
Call 800-235-5588. That's 800-235-5588. 800-235-5588.
Drivers who switch and save with Progressive could save hundreds. With that kind of money, you could go big time and switch to the expensive shampoo with amino acids. Sure, you don't know what those are or why you need them, but it sounds very impressive. And if you switch and save hundreds, you can massage it into your scalp every day. Now, if only you can get people to lean toward your head to smell those aminos. Switch to Progressive and you could save big time. For shampoo, Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, not available in all states. Potential savings will vary.
Don't miss your chance to win tickets to the Sacramento Boat Show and Off-Road Expo March 6th through the 9th at Cal Expo, the largest outdoor recreation show in the market. Just go to SacktownSports.com now for your chance to win.
Sacramento's premier country music festival, Country in the Park, is coming back May 16th and 17th at Cal Expo with Bailey Zimmerman, Billy Currington, Cole Wetzel, Nate Smith, and more. You'll enjoy food trucks, rock walls, and a mechanical bull, line dancing, and more. Single day GA tickets start at $52 at CITPFest.com. Country in the Park, May 16th and 17th with Save Mart and McKee Brothers Plumbing and Rooter Incorporated. Find out more at CITPFest.com. High voltage live boxing action returns to the venue on March 8th as Uppercut Promotions presents Thunder Showdown 2. With 8 big fights, it's a night of great boxing action you won't want to miss. Thunder Showdown 2, coming March 8th to the venue at Thunder Valley Casino Resorts. Fight card subject to change.
You know, when it's all on the line, you need a big-time closer, and that's especially true when it comes to your garage door. And that's why I recommend National Garage Door, 638-4554. Whitey Gleason here for National Garage Door. Whether you're looking to repair an existing door or get a brand new one installed, you need National Garage Door. Family-owned and operated. They've been around since 1974 because service is their number one priority. National Garage Door are the region's BSE, it's broken spring experts. Styles, prices, and quality of the new doors will amaze you. Our garage door was starting to sound kind of, and that's not good. So Kevin from National Garage Door came out. He said patching up the old one was an option, but we're getting a new garage door. We're pretty happy about that. National Garage Door sells quality Rainer branded garage doors. They offer sales, service, and installation on all residential and commercial doors and operators. If you have garage door needs, old ones coming apart, or you're looking to improve your curb appeal, let National Garage Door come through for you in the clutch and be your closer. 638-4554, National Garage Door.
Danzig Live. With special guests Down, Aboth, and Cro-Mags.
Saturday, March 22nd, 6 p.m. The venue at Thunder Valley. On sale now. For tickets, visit ThunderValleyResort.com. Don't miss Danzig.
Allen Stiles
You can join the show by texting 916-339-1140.
on Sacktown Sports.
Someone on the SAC chat, Zach, on the SAC chat trying to scare us a little bit, and I'm just double checking here, says don't sleep on the Blazers. They could get hot. So I'm not sleeping, Zach, because look, we know how tough March is going to be for the Kings. So I'm looking here. The Blazers right now are 4.5 games back of the Kings. Okay, they're 26-33. The Kings are 30-28. So they're 4.5 games back. You got a month and a half left. Here's the saving grace, I think. Now, the Blazers have just gone through a stretch where they've played some of their best ball to get within 4.5. So you're going to count on the Blazers continuing to play that hot, or, some level of that heat to be able to catch the Kings. And here is honestly what I think the saving grace is. Now, when you wake up this morning, according to Tankathon, the Phoenix Suns have the toughest strength of schedule left. Sacramento sits at number 2. The Nuggets sit at number 3. The Lakers sit at number 4. The Clippers, interesting. The Clippers sit at number 5. The Bucks sit at number 6. And the Portland Trailblazers sit at number 7. So they've just played some of their best ball to get within 4.5. And like I said, I know the Kings are at 2, but I know we've been talking a lot about how bad March is, but if the Portland Trailblazers catch the Kings, then we're talking about blowing this bad boy up. I don't think that the Portland Trailblazers should be able to catch the Kings. I know March is going to be really tough, but that shouldn't happen. Something would have gone pretty wrong if that happens. So good on you, Zach. Good call, but hopefully we don't have to deal with that. Meanwhile, the NCAA is dealing with some crazy stories here, as the betting conversation is a complete mess. It's a complete nightmare. There's a whole betting ring. All right. And 2 more teams have been, or 2 more schools have been brought up. Last year, it was my alma mater, Temple University. Okay. And now you add Fresno State to that mix, where there are kids betting on their own props, betting on the games.
We should say under investigation.
Under investigation.
Yeah. The disclaimer here: players suspended and 1 dismissed from the team in a gambling probe.
Right. And now New Orleans University. You notice a theme here. It's these mid-majors. They're not getting that NIL money, and they're thinking, I'm gonna get mine somehow. So now New Orleans University investigating 4 suspended players over gambling. I saw the Fresno State one. I think I saw it was rebounds, and I don't know if it was total rebounds or their own rebounds. So I'm just imagining watching that game and just running away from the rebounds.
Or how like Russell Westbrook would always come in and grab rebounds from his teammates? It's like that for another player.
Yes.
Like,
hey, go get that, man. It's you today.
Yeah, you got it.
It's you today.
And they flag unusual activity. I can't remember which one it was, but it was like someone put like $70,000 on a Southland tournament quarterfinal first half, and they were like, something is up there. There's no way.
Well, the line will start moving a bunch, and it's just crazy stuff there.
So there's also another specific trend, at least in these latest 2, which is New Orleans basketball this year is 4-25. 2-16 in conference. They're dead last in the Southland, which is a mid-major. And so what these gambling companies are the people who are running these rings are targeting, allegedly, is teams at the very, very bottoms of mid-major college basketball, where lines are available, but no one's really paying close
Right.
enough attention to notice what's happening in these games. I mean, in the Fresno State story, the players had been on leave for a month.
Right.
And it was only recently that people at the Fresno Bee and other outlets started diving into, hey, why are they on leave? And then that ended up opening up this story. Even the reporting is being done after the events have actually taken place. So we're not finding out about these until months after they've happened.
Yeah, latest development in a number of betting scandals that have occurred at Eastern Michigan, Mississippi Valley State, North Carolina A&T, and Temple University. Again, all mid-majors, and, it's crazy stuff. The one thing that I think is interesting is how this thing continues is, will they go as far as to ban college player betting? Is that something that could happen? I don't know who has that control, but as you look at these players, you'll never have to worry about major college football. You want to know why? Because those dudes are making millions. You know what I mean? These are kids that are trying to make their way. And I guess because I've always said mid-majors are basically turning into because of the transfer portal, mid-majors are just turning into the new junior college, right? You go to a Mississippi Valley State for a year, you could actually make your way all the way up the ladder. You could go to Mississippi Valley State for a year, ball out, and then you go to Utah for a year, ball out, and then you go to Alabama, and now you're now a junior, right? That's how these guys can play these things. Some of them, maybe they feel like this is just a quicker way to get some of the money that they're looking to get, and they don't believe. Look, a lot of these guys at these mid-majors, they're not playing on Sundays, right? Or they're not playing in the NBA, so this is the direction that they're going in. I wish it wouldn't go in this direction, but it's a bad look, and something's got to be done.
What's interesting is that there's very little way to regulate some of these things too. I was listening to Pat Forty on a podcast talk about it yesterday, and he was like, yeah, the FBI and the the NCAA is looking into it, and they had FBI resources going towards it, but they have limited resources, and the bigger fish to fry are the Jonte Porters, the Terry Roziers, where the NBA investigated and said everything's fine, but then the FBI is like, I'm not exactly sure if we're going to take the NBA at its word, so now they're doing an investigation. I heard there's 3 or 4 NBA players quietly under probe. We haven't heard about it yet, but it is happening in the NBA to a certain extent, and so even in these cases, there's just not resources to even attack it, because okay, some guys from New Orleans made $4,000 over the integrity of a game that 500 people watched. It wasn't even on ESPN Plus. It's only on local radio. And it's hard to even regulate that once they do have the information, because you need resources to actually dive into it. So all they're doing right now is just taking the players off the court while they're investigating these probes.
Yeah, and this is not going to go away. I think kids are just going to get smarter in how they do things, and you have adults kind of manipulating them, trying to find their way to get a piece of the pie, and they know that, right? The other thing I had to get to before we get to Whitey Gleason and crosstalk is crazy story from Pro Football Talk. So Jordan Schultz, who has kind of made waves, he's been connected with Fox, and he's got I think he had a show or has a show with Draymond.
Oh yeah, Draymond Green football show.
Yeah, so he is super plugged in with the NFL, and of course Ian Rappaport, who is a really well-known figure in sports in the NFL specifically. Apparently they got into it at the Combine at a Starbucks in Indianapolis. So I have to get to this real quick. Here it is, and this is from Pro Football Talk. The Scouting Combine brings the entire NFL community together for better or worse. Per multiple sources who witnessed the interaction, Jordan Schultz of Fox and Ian Rappaport of NFL Media engaged in a verbal altercation on Wednesday afternoon at the Starbucks at the JW Marriott in Indianapolis. Schultz, we're told, accosted Rappaport. The incident first came to widespread light when PFT commenter posted a tweet on Wednesday night that referred to a serious big-time media confrontation between 2 NFL news breakers. That tweet sparked much speculation in an effort to get to the bottom of this. We're told, and they also go on, they just kind of throw Jordan Schultz under the bus here because they say the fact that it happened at a Starbucks provides an intriguing coincidence since Schultz is the son of former Starbucks CEO Howard Schultz. Just calling him a Nepo baby.
He is?
Yeah, apparently.
What?
Yeah, so there you go.
First time I'm learning this.
Yeah, there you go.
This is like art. So he's the Arthur Smith of news breaking?
I guess so. All right, let me get through this. We're told that Rappaport was talking to an agent. Schultz approached Rappaport and said, "We need to talk." Rappaport replied, "We don't need to talk." Schultz then made accusations about Rappaport, we're told. Rappaport regards the accusations as unfounded. The two men were essentially face-to-face. If you have anything to say it to me. Say it to my bleeping face, Schultz said. And it's an F bleep, by the way. If this continues, we're going to have a F bleeping problem. Rappaport then asked Schultz to step back. If this happens again, we're going to have a bleeping problem, Schultz said. Now I'll step back. The incident was reported to NFL Security, and NFL Security has taken statements from multiple witnesses. Rappaport declined to comment on the situation. Schultz told PFT this via text message. "It really isn't anything too much. Ian, Rappaport and I had a verbal confrontation. It lasted a little over a minute. Multiple agents and reporters were nearby. Rappaport was the one who called security shortly after, but it never escalated further." Schultz initially disputed the number of expletives in the account as provided to PFT. He then recalls using none. So I don't know what the beef is, but you slide up to someone with a caramel macchiato saying, "We got a bleeping problem."
We mentioned it briefly on the show yesterday, which was Jordan Schultz and other people reporting Matthew Stafford and Tom Brady inviting Matthew Stafford to his Montana ski resort or whatever to meet. And then Rappaport, who, again, Michigan, Tom Brady, all that stuff.
Yeah.
I think he's connected to Brady's agent and Schefter or something. But anyways, he's like, it was a coincidental meeting and there's no tampering, nothing wrong. And Jordan Schultz is like, "You're calling out my reporting." And so whatever else, that's what led to it.
There you go. Wow. If you got a bleeping problem, say it to my bleeping face.
I love all the NFL reporters also who are making jokes. I think McAfee saw Rappaport coming in because they're doing their show at the Combine, and Rappaport held up his Starbucks to be like, "Hey guys," and then Schefter showed up to the Starbucks and was like head on a swivel, and everyone's making jokes at Jordan Schultz's expense now. Really, Jordan Schultz is the Starbucks guy's son? That's crazy.
All right. Well, I'm going to say that to Whitey here in the crosstalk. You got a problem, say it to my bleeping face. Allen Stiles, Sacktown Sports.
This Saturday, Kings and Rockets. Game night with Scott Marsh and the high flyer Henry Turner starts at 3:30. Tip-off at 5.
The Kings play here on Sacktown Sports.
Sacktown Sports, 1140.
What's up? We're talking to Chad Hoblet of Hoblet Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Woodland. Chad, tell me what's going on for the President's Day sales event.
It's something I didn't think I'd see for a long time. Right now, you can get 0% financing for 72 months on the luxurious 2024 Jeep Wagoneer S, the 2024 Grand Cherokee 4Bay, or the 2024 Dodge Hornet.
I'm sorry, Chad. I thought you said 0% financing. I must have heard wrong. And what's the Jeep Wagoneer S?
Nope. 0% financing for 72 months. Everyone's excited about the all-new Jeep Wagoneer S because it's sporty, fun, and all-electric. Plus, you can't miss the Hoblet Certified Pre-Owned Supercenter with over 220 vehicles available and 40 starting under $20,000.
When was the last time you heard of 0% financing? You'd better hurry before they realize what they're doing. Search, select, and save through their whole inventory at HobletDodge.com. Unbeatable prices, unbeatable selection. Nobody beats Hoblet, period.
0% APR for 72 months on select vehicles for well-qualified buyers through Stellantis Finance. $13.89 per thousand borrowed, at least 5 available at each offer. See dealer for details.
Hi, I'm Justin Gingery. One of the most common questions I receive is what makes us different from other law firms. At Gingery, Hammer & Associates, we handle your case from beginning to end. Whether your case reaches a settlement, whether we need to file suit, or even take it all the way to trial, we will be with you along the entire way. And because we are committed to you and your case, we are as invested as you are in making sure you get the outcome you deserve. If you have an injury, just call Gingery.
Are you 50 or older? This news is for you. The CDC now recommends you get vaccinated against pneumococcal pneumonia. Even if you're healthy, your age puts you at risk. People 50 or older are over 6 times more likely to be hospitalized with pneumococcal pneumonia compared to adults 18 to 49. Just one shot can help protect you. Learn more and schedule at vaxassist.com. That's VAXassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Tired of hearing scary radio ads about the IRS? Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000 or $500,000, we have a solution. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS with zero risk to you. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with a BBB. End your tax nightmare today by visiting TRA.com or call 800-583-6580. That's 800-583-6580.
Is that a new Samsung Galaxy A15 5G?
Yeah, I got it for free when I joined Cricket Nation.
Sounds pretty great.
At Cricket, anyone can get a new phone when they switch.
Whoa.
With a high-quality camera, meaning more flattering selfies for all, and super fast 5G, so you can post them for all to see. Your friends, your family, your ex. Free phone! Free phone!
Okay, I'll switch.
Welcome to Cricket Nation.
Cricket 5G is not available everywhere. Must bring your number to Cricket on a $60 a month voice plan. First month service charge and tax to its sale. These terms and other restrictions apply. See cricketwireless.com for details.
Tired of hearing scary radio ads about the IRS? Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000 or $500,000, we have a solution. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS with zero risk to you. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with a BBB. End your tax nightmare today by visiting TRA.com or call 800-27...
Theater.
Allen Stiles. Watch the show on youtube.com/SacktownSports1140.
Or listen on the Sacktown Sports app.
Let's hear it for Allen Stiles, everybody. Yeah. I'm sure Whitey Gleason will get a kick out of the new and improved. I don't know how long he's going to last, so let's enjoy him since the Kings don't play till Saturday. But optimistic Allen. Sean Cunningham. I don't know what.
What's the over-under on how long that lasts? Because I'm taking the
Don't
under.
let them lose on Saturday.
Yeah, I'm taking the under.
I'm going to say until they lose another basketball game.
Yeah, don't let them lose. Don't let them lose on Saturday.
Maybe not even tomorrow. He might just not get his coffee in the morning, and optimistic Allen is gone.
Well, I would say this, Whitey. I was the only one, and we had a fully loaded roundtable with Chris Watkins.
Sure, I was listening.
Frankie Cardicelli and Brendan Nunez, and I was the only one to say I believe that the Kings will go 3-1 on this 4.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah,
I think they're going to go 0-4.
You know, Sean Cunningham didn't exactly tell you to be optimistic. He said, enjoy the ride.
That's right.
He said, this thing could still go any which way, and it's the Kings, so buckle up and enjoy the ride. He didn't say, that's what I appreciate about Sean. He didn't say, oh, it's going to be great. He said, who knows, but just let's see what happens and enjoy it.
But he opened my world to the other side.
Right, because you've been so far the other way.
And not that far.
You had turned to the dark side.
Not that far. Not
Now
that
you're
far.
back.
Anakin was the best Jedi. So, Whitey.
No, it was that guy with the super long neck.
No, Whitey. What do you think they're going to do on this road trip?
2-2.
Yeah, that's the answer, right? That's the
But
real
they have a great
answer.
shot of winning 3.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's the real answer.
So you're chalking up Dallas as a win.
Yeah.
You have to.
Mm-hmm.
You literally have
Yeah.
to.
And then can they win one of the other 2? Yeah, they could. They really could. The
Yeah.
thing is with this team, you really, and they don't know yet. Like Keegan said last night, we're still waiting for it all to click.
Right.
So we sit here and say, well, this team can't do this or that. We don't know what this team's going to look like 2 games from now, 3 games from now.
And as much as we've talked about how tough March is going to be, at least we'll know. We'll know after this, because the whole clicking thing. Are you ever going to click against a bad? You know what I mean? You're not going to click against playing the Hornets. You're not going to click against playing the Jazz. And I would say, even though last night was a really bizarre game, the starters never come out. They did win by 19, so they had control. But I don't know if Doug was getting them more reps or felt like they could lose control. They had the extra day off tonight.
You want me to ask him today?
No, I don't think.
Okay.
Don't waste it. Don't waste it. You got bigger fish to fry. Well,
okay.
Be careful the fish that you fry, but you got bigger fish to fry. By the way, that's right.
Yeah.
Whitey, go ahead. Go plug it.
Doug Christie will be on the show today, around 2:30, where, he's got a schedule that he's got to follow. But I think we're thinking around 2:30-ish, somewhere in there. Yeah.
I'm setting my alarm now.
Mm-hmm.
There we go.
Just
it is set.
On your drive home, just have it on and you're going to hear it.
I get home pretty quick.
Alarm.
That's right.
Allen's out of the building by 1:58.
No, my goal is to be on the freeway by 2. That's normally how I get down. But don't miss that. Doug Christie, Whitey's going to be asking all the hard-hitting questions and hold his feet to the fire.
Not really our intent, Alan.
But that's going to be a lot of fun, Whitey. The other thing that we talked about with the guys, and I found some numbers that people were posting about one, Domantas Sabonis. Look, it's not about being worried about Domantas Sabonis, but
this is what a Sabonis slump looks like.
Well, actually, no. Let me spin the block real quick.
Some numbers.
Let me spin the block real quick because Whitey, you had Domantas Sabonis balling out last night.
I did,
and he did not ball out last night.
12 and 9 and 5 assists.
So let me just not waste my time and say, are you worried about Domantas Sabonis?
No, I'm not worried.
Okay.
You know, I'm not worried because at one point in that fourth quarter, before he started scoring a few buckets, clearly he had been struggling offensively. Gets the ball at the elbow, and I think there's a flyby. So he has a drive to the hoop. And, a lot of guys I haven't scored. They're going to take the ball to the basket. Instead, he finds DeMar in the opposite corner for a 3.
Mm-hmm.
When I saw that, it's like, there's nothing to worry about here.
We'll see. Shangoon is somebody who Domantas Sabonis should have a good time against. I'm trying to remember his numbers. Oddly enough, off the top of my head, I don't know that
Shangoon got thrown out of that game.
He did. He did at the end. Yeah, I'm trying to remember how Sabonis did, but that's more of the speed. Well, he's not a leaper, and Sabonis likes to kind of confuse people. So I kind of remember that game not being a crazy, crazy game for Domantas Sabonis. But I'm not worried.
Mm-hmm.
There's just a lot going on this team, which is what we've kind of all landed on. Is there enough time for this thing to make sense? But they have talented pieces, right? There's no denying that.
Yeah, they definitely do. It was interesting last night, the shot distribution, because you had all 5 starters were, 12 to 18 shots, whereas the game before, it was all Zach LaVine. He took over. So, although he only took 19 shots in that game. So, yeah, there are some really good signs, things coming together offensively. And that's where they're going to have to make their right?
Mm-hmm.
To back you up, Allen, so the first game they played, Sabonis, 27 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists. The one in January, which I think is the one you're referencing, 20 points, 14 rebounds, 7 assists.
Yeah, and again, the level that we hold Domantas Sabonis to is kind of insane, right? But
you know what happened to him last night? He got outplayed.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Yeah. I mean, kind of a kudos to Danny Ainge. I personally joke about how he wants first rounders for everyone. He's been really strong on that Walker Kessler thing offensively. Right. We'll see what happens with Walker Kessler. But besides the offensive bag, if you will, that kid is going to be really good.
He's a good player, and it happens. Domas got outplayed last night. He wasn't terrible, but he got outplayed.
Yeah. So we will see if Domas gets back on the right side of things. That's not till Saturday around the league, Whitey. A lot of action today for those play-in teams.
The teams just ahead of the Kings and the one right behind them all playing.
Right. So I know I'm walking myself into a Bay Area former Warriors guy here, but I mean, I would be surprised, and obviously I would like it much to you wouldn't believe this, but I would like for the Warriors to lose to the Magic because that would help the Kings. I don't see it. A lot of people have pegged the Warriors to get that 6th seed, and I don't know, Whitey.
Allen's former boss in San Francisco.
That's your former boss.
X wrote, "Hey, let's get crazy. If the Warriors win it all, I'm going to get a Jimmy Butler tattoo." That's embarrassing, Allen. Come on.
I mean, if they win it all, he wouldn't do it. But they're also, I don't know if they're going to win it all.
That's embarrassing. They're not.
I'll tell you right, they're not.
Because of what or who?
Because Denver, Oklahoma City, Minnesota.
I don't know, man. Maybe I'm drinking the Lakers Kool-Aid, but I don't look at the Lakers, obviously, having Austin Reeves and Luka on the court at the same time. I know they got Vanderflop back, but
Luka or Hookah?
Well, he likes to drink. We know that. But I don't know. I saw
going to have a medical calamity in the next 5 years.
I saw Jokic having to spray the ball to Russell Westbrook and Julian Strother, and I thought, I don't know, man.
Why?
I heard you talk about Julian Strother. You talk about him the way Stauskas talks about Kessler Edwards.
It's the entire Nuggets bench. The other day he was going after Hunter Tyson. He's like, I've never heard of Hunter Tyson.
Because who are these guys? Because they beat a bunch of bad teams. Jokic said it himself, and I don't know. I'll give you OKC and Boston.
And what? I don't even know.
I'm done there.
Okay.
I'm done.
Cleveland?
They've done nothing.
Are you saying those are the only two teams that would keep the Warriors from winning a championship?
I'm saying
OKC and Boston?
Is
that what you're saying?
And I throw the Lakers in there, maybe.
Alan, the Nuggets have won 18 of their last 22 games.
Look up who they beat.
It's 18 games.
Look up who they beat.
Everyone.
Look up who they beat.
They've beaten everyone. They beat the Clippers. They beat the Mavericks, the Rockets, Miami. They beat Orlando. They beat the Kings.
I'm just saying that is the team that I'm kind of separating, Whitey. That's my whole point. I don't know who's talking about championships here. Whitey found a way to say all that. But all I'm saying is that is not the team that I think the Kings are going to be able to catch. I think it's going to be the Timberwolves or the beat down Mavericks. It's one of those teams to get to that 7-8.
7-8.
That's all I'm
Then you
saying.
get 2 chances to win one.
That's right.
9-10.
And
you
one
must
at home.
win 2. Yeah.
Yes.
And also a 10 seed has never made it through the play-in.
Wah, wah.
In 8 tries, they are 0 for 8.
By the way, best team story in the NBA this year, Detroit
That's
basketball.
right. Cade Cunningham, he's just smooth, man.
Yeah.
There's just some athletes that are just smooth.
I saw people were conflating the Detroit turnaround and the Philadelphia fall with the Tobias Harris turnaround. It's like when Tobias Harris goes to your team, like the team he leaves has a bad season and the team he lands on has a good season. It's a very strange
It's the
phenomenon.
opposite of the Rudy Gay phenomenon.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
There you go. Well,
Tobias Harris, MVP.
Whitey Gleason.
Yes.
Kyle Draper, Jay Johnson coming at you. Doug Christie joins the show 2:30.
2:30-ish.
2:30-ish.
Yeah, we'll see. We're on standby.
You don't want to miss it. I will be listening. You will be listening. Thank you for listening to the Allen Stiles Show. Thank you to the Roundtable, Brendan Nunez, Frankie Carticelli, and Chris Watkins. Thank all the callers, texters, sack chatters. Thanks for a great month, as I stated earlier. Thanks to De'Aaron Fox and the Sacramento Kings as well. Let's keep this thing rolling. And until tomorrow, secure the bag like the beam.
We bring the boom. That's what we do.
Gotta go.
This Saturday, Kings and Rockets. Game night with Scott Marsh and the high flyer Henry Turner